Excuses.
Thousands! Who ate the apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Who ate the whole apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Allah ate it. Allah ate it.
Because he was too stupid.
Excuses.
Thousands! Who ate the apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Who ate the whole apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Allah ate it. Allah ate it.
Because he was too stupid.
Excuses.
Thousands! Who ate the apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Who ate the whole apple? What happened?
I don't know.
Allah ate it. Allah ate it.
Because he was too stupid.
Excuses.
Thousands! Who ate the apple? What happened?
All right. We are live. Welcome back to Reason Answers, your home for all
crackhead clown individuals.
Today we got some new crackhead clown individuals with us. Although I just gotta have to say they're honorary crackhead clowns because Ali Dawah technically said that about Christians, and not all my guests are Christians here today. We're going to be talking about the latest in the Mohammed Hijab sex abuse case. We're going to be talking about some videos that Aisha has released, and since today is May 4th, May the 4th be with you. I had made the thumbnail there Star Wars themed. I was already thinking about, like, you know, it's Aisha's revenge or Aisha strikes. Hey, Aisha strikes back. Yeah, that works perfectly. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. So I'll give my guests a chance to introduce themselves, starting with Friendly Ex-Muslim.
Yeah, hi. So thanks for having me on here. I'll keep my introduction kind of short. I've been doing YouTube for a while now, and I left Islam back in, what was it, like maybe 9 years ago now. I was Muslim for a good 15 years. I consider myself a convert as well. And why do I say that? I have a Muslim family, but I consider myself a convert. And the reason for that is because I converted from an obscure minority sect known as the Smileys. They're like maybe like 15 million in the world or something, to Sunni Muslim, where the mainstream Muslims at, you know, billions or whatever, right? So yeah, like I became a religious Muslim when I was young. I converted to Sunni Islam. I became very serious about it. I created 2 big websites, lightuponlight.com, verse-by-verse-Quran.com. And now, you know, basically, lo and behold, I ended up leaving Islam. And so I made it, it's become my passion to talk about this and to share with people so others don't make the same mistakes that I do. That's basically where how I got to where I am. So yeah, that's it.
All right. And we do have Mrs. Friendly Ex-Muslim as well.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Mrs. Friendly Ex-Muslim, or you could call me Huda. That was my Muslim name. My interest in Islam began back in 2009. I converted in 2014, and then I left in 2023. So I just come on my husband's channel, and we work together to talk about women's issues and other issues in Islam.
And your brother in Christ, you've been on here a couple times, but you want to introduce yourself as well.
Sure. I've been doing Christian apologetics, polemics, and evangelism, specializing mostly in reaching out to Muslims. So we'll do dives into scripture, both Quran, Hadith, and the Bible itself, and then compare it. And of course, we have open live streams where people can call in and give their opinion. And we have some pretty lively little debates. The last one with an atheist yesterday was interesting. Definitely when they declare that they have the intellectual superiority. That did not go so well for that individual. And my wife wants me to let you know that she's in the back room.
Oh, I was unaware that Elle is planning on joining us, but the more the merrier. Welcome, Elle.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm here.
You're certainly welcome to be here. You were invited. You just didn't tell me you were going to come, so I didn't realize it. Anyway, you want to introduce yourself, Elle?
Yes, I am Elle. I am quite fond of causing surprises, as I apparently tend to do accidentally as well. I am an artist and an apologist, and I like combining the two, but I also like calling out lies because I know the truth is incredibly important, all of our experience of reality depends on truth. And when our experiences do not align with truth and do not align with reality, we need to fix that because it matters quite a lot. So that is what I try to do here on YouTube and in uh, everyday life. So, hello. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. I'll add a link to Elle's channel in the video description later, but the other channels are already linked there. Definitely encourage you to check those out. So what Mr. and Mrs. Friendly Ex-Muslim may not realize is that there's a tradition on this channel that the first time people are on, I ask them, if they're Christians, I ask them why they're a Christian, but if they're a Muslim, I ask them why they're a Muslim. So in this case, we'll start with Friendly Ex-Muslim. Why do you believe what you believe?
Yeah, and if it's easier, you could just call me Abdullah. I guess the reason I'm atheist is because I'm not convinced about any truth claims of any of the religions out there, and so I consider myself what Dawkins considered a weak atheist, which is someone that is willing, open-minded to maybe there's something out there, but I'm not convinced. And if the evidence comes to me and I'm convinced, then I would believe. But at the moment, I consider myself weak atheist, not in the sense of I'm not that convinced. I am convinced, just in terms of like I don't make a strong argument for atheism. I'd rather default to just maybe something's out there, maybe not. I'm not convinced, so I think we're alone in the world, and that's basically my position. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the follow-up question is, what would change your mind about that?
Yeah. So I guess if we're talking about belief in God or religion, I would be looking for like strong, compelling evidence that we received, that there's something there from outside of the world that I can't explain, something that cannot be explained by any other means rather than a non-materialistic, non-naturalistic explanation. So yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at right now.
All right. Perfect. Yep, and I won't be challenging you on that today, but I do think it's important that people kind of know where everyone stands. So same question for you, Mrs. Friendly Ex-Muslim.
Okay, so for me, I'm not an atheist. I grew up Lutheran. Then I converted to Islam. And actually, I have a background in religious studies that was part of my minor for my bachelor's degree. Why do I believe what I believe? I don't really follow or believe anything right now. I think being a part of Islam and going through what I went through, I think religion completely sucked the life out of me. So I've kind of been on I call it like a religious vacation hiatus. I just haven't been searching. I haven't been looking. And to change my mind, I'm not sure, but I'm open-minded. I'm open-minded about the possibility of something being out there.
Excellent. And Eric and Elle have answered those questions before, so check out previous streams if you want to see their answers to those questions. We're going to dive right into a post that Aisha put up on her channel, which is called Faith, here in just a second, but I did have two other announcements for myself that I wanted to put out there. There is a pinned link in the chat for you to go and vote on the next channel animation. During our last live stream, I had a fundraising goal, which was met. So that will be rewarded with a new channel animation. The voting is extremely close right now. It's like 32, 31, 29, something like that for the top three options there. The fourth option is well behind, but go and vote in that poll if you haven't already done so. And then the other announcement is that I have a new short looking at this individual who's claiming to be the Mahdi. I was on Your Brother in Christ channel a couple days ago. We watched his video. He put out a challenge saying, he said to Christians, pray to Jesus, ask him for a sign. So I took his challenge, and that short gives the results. It's currently up for channel members. It'll be released publicly later tonight. So be on the lookout for that. It is actually maximizes the benefit if you wait till YouTube recommends it and then you click on it, as opposed to seeking it out, because that gives them a signal that, hey, this is what people are interested when they're given a variety of options. So be on the lookout for that. If you don't see it, and you really want to see it, go ahead and click on the channel page and you can find it there as well. You probably won't be able to find it if you're not a member yet. It probably only shows it to members. It probably doesn't say like, this is available to members. And if you become a member, you can see it. But it'll be public later tonight. All right. So all that's where it gets all the introductions out of the way. Oh, one other thing. Thank you for everyone who is tuning in today. I know you've made the correct choice and you're not watching David talking about boring old Sajid, and you're here for the much more exciting Mohammed Hijab material. But I do acknowledge that it is very tempting to watch David instead of me. So I appreciate those who are here live. All right, so we're going to start with this post that Faith Aisha made 2 weeks ago. I have intentionally refrained from sharing any details of my case involving that individual Mohammed Hijab online, as I'm currently pursuing a resolution to my divorce with him through the Islamic Council of Europe. I initially shared my story and testimony with Behind Veils in August of last year. However, I am currently pausing any collaboration with Behind Veils until the council concludes its proceedings regarding my case. I pray that Allah allows those in authority to do their due diligence to ensure there is no discrimination based on status, influence, or position, and that the truth prevails. Amen. That last sentence there is going to prove to be pretty ironic, I think. But when I saw this post, I was like, oh no, she still believes, right? She still believes that she's going to get justice through the Islamic system. She still has this idea that somehow it's going to work out there, and all they're really going to do is waste her time. And I mean, this is what I was thinking, right? Without any evidence, but just based on what my understanding, that she went to them before and they said, we're not interested. And now all of a sudden they're interested, that this is public, that they're going to waste her time, keep her quiet long enough for this to blow over, and then be like, nah, Hijab didn't do anything wrong. That was my guess as to what would happen there. But I'd like to get some other thoughts on that as well. And then we can just feel free to jump in.
Yeah, like actually, my wife just did a video, actually, research expose on the Islamic Council of Europe, and these people are awful. They're like as hard line as you can get, like as anti-women, as misogynistic, as this, always a woman's fault. Do you want to tell them about the reviews?
Yeah, so I've been thinking, I'm like, okay, this is progressing and we keep hearing about the Islamic Council of Europe over and over. I'm like, okay, so I just typed it in and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, they have reviews about this place. And I'm like, let me just go through the reviews. And I was shocked that these reviews are all like 98% women, one after another, complaining about how misogynistic they are. This is male-centered. They don't listen to them. They tell them to go back to their abusive husbands. I mean, it's just like, it's a rabbit hole and a half, and it's so bad. So I'm like, I mean, she's not, I'm sorry to say, but with reviews like that and the committee they have, I just don't see any sort of justice in her future with this. I wouldn't even waste my time going through with them.
Yeah, I have to agree. It seems improbable that she'll get any justice there, but I think she may have figured that out already, because she says she's not going to say anything else publicly. And as we're about to see, a week after this, she released a couple of videos defending herself against some of the accusations that the AI, not Mohammed Hijab narrator, and Ali Dawa made against her.
Yeah, and I think I think one of the reasons too why she says she wants to go through with this council is maybe an extra buffer of just feeling like she got justice through the religion. But the thing is, what Hijab did was halal. What are they going to say that's going to, be defensive of her and take her side? What he did is Islamically okay.
Yeah, exactly. She still has this idea in her mind that, oh, this isn't Islam. He's distorting the religion. He's in the wrong. This is all about hijab. And it's like, well, I mean, he did a couple things that were kind of sort of questionable, but like the general principle is he's allowed to do whatever he wants, and he gave you a divorce when you didn't agree to the changed terms. So what exactly do you expect out of this? Like the worst possible conclusion that they could have for hijab is, yeah, you didn't act perfectly, but it's halal. It's just not ideal. And that's probably about the best outcome she could possibly give from any jurist. So I'm kind of at a loss as to why she's, just still so all into this. But I guess because, Islam is her identity, right? It's a big part of her. And right now she's resolving the cognitive dissonance by saying, no, this isn't Islam. When, of course, the real solution that we all hope for, I think, is that she'll eventually realize, no, this is Islam. Islam is the problem. Yes, hijab is a horrible person, but it's also Islam that is the problem.
Yeah, I was going to say, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say too, I think, I'm looking at this from a trauma perspective too. So she went through this trauma of this Miss Your marriage wild ride with hijab. So, and then she ended up losing in the end, the divorce happened, all this. So for her to kind of give up on her religion now, I feel like that's probably more than what she could cope with. So it's like, from my understanding, that's kind of why maybe she is still holding on to it, because to get rid of the religion as well on top of this, that'd be just a massive undertaking for her right now. And I'm not sure that's something that she's, looking for at this moment.
Yeah. Can I, actually we were discussing in the car, and Huda was telling me why she relates so much to Aisha. Do you want to just we should talk about that. Like, you have a lot of, empathy for her because you've been through similar.
I have bottomless empathy for her. I went through a lot because of this religion. I went through my own loss, and I went through trying to rebuild my life, get married again. I was proposed to be a second wife, Miss Your wife. I just feel like seeing what she's going through, I'm on the other side now. I went through what I did. I survived. I'm resilient. I came out on the other side, and I feel like it's my job to speak up for women like her now. So this is very close to my heart too.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people in chat, most people are sympathetic, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people are kind of like, oh, she's just as much to blame and whatnot. And it's like, well, you're looking at this from a Western perspective, where what hijab did is clearly wrong. What we're agreeing to be a second wife would be wrong and whatnot. But within the context of Islam, this is all she could really expect as a divorced older woman with a child. She's not exactly a prime target for Muslim men. And what she was looking for is someone who is, very religious, someone who will follow the precepts of Islam very closely. And then she gets this Dawa guy, right, proposing to her. And she's like, this is the ideal man. How could I possibly pass this up? But even though, right, she's viewing hijab as this perfect spouse, perfect opportunity, she's still very hesitant because things he's saying just don't sound quite right. And he had to kind of coax her and gaslight her and eventually convince her that this was what she wanted to do. So she's absolutely 100% a victim. She's a victim of Islam. She's a victim of Mohammed Hijab's manipulation. And she's a victim of a society that's telling her she has no value. So, what else are you supposed to do if you're in that situation? Right. I can't fault her at all.
And you know what? Hatun did a reaction to Daniel Hakikachu the other day. And Daniel says it himself in the stream. He says, we basically have a shelf life in this religion. We basically have an expiration date. And, some of these guys, even if you're 25, they don't even want to look your way. I got married when I was 29, and even, my late husband's mother, she said I was too old. I was 29. I was never married before, nothing, no children. I was too old. So, from her perspective as well, she's new to the UK. She has no family. She has nobody. She's a single mother. I could see why, after looking and having failed, searches for somebody, that she might, go for this. She might like hijab. She might feel like, maybe he'll take care of her. And obviously that's the opposite of what happened.
And
Indeed.
sadly,
So-
I think that this was. Oh,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Elle. Go ahead.
I was going to say, this is compounded all the more because Mohammed Hijab seemed to have put a stake in between her and her family all the more, trying to create that division through various means. And also, when I was talking to Hatun on this live stream the other day, going through Daniel Hakikachu's, another thing that was brought up was the flippancy within Islam for marriage. And so I think, again, just another thing to compound it. He was talking about how if he doesn't take out the trash, if, the husband doesn't take out the trash, divorce. It's just a normal marriage, just divorce. If the wife doesn't do the dishes, just divorce. It's just a normal marriage. Like, I don't see why, this is not just a normal marriage. You didn't like it, just divorce. It's just a normal marriage. Stop making it a big deal, Aisha. It's like, no, marriage is amazing and wonderful and a beautiful gift from God. But when it's just like, oh, you don't like that one thing or that one action or that one lack of action, just divorce, no big deal. It's like, well, of course this is going to be like a heartbreaking situation across the board, whether you're in it or out of it.
Alexander says to Mr. and Mrs. Friendly Ex-Muslim, I just watched your guys' video. It was great. I feel so sad for those women. Well, there's multiple videos, so I'm not sure which one you're referring to necessarily, but I would agree there are definitely some very good videos on this subject over there. So let's get into what Aisha has said in response to the things that have been being said by Mohammed Hijab and Ali Dawa. I mean, they're basically saying the exact same things. They're calling her crazy, saying that she's a stalker, she has mental issues. They're accusing her of faking screenshots and so on and so forth. Covered all that in previous videos, but that's the context of the remarks she's making on her channel. And the first one that we'll look at is called Why Go Public? So kind of answering the question of why she brought this public, because that's one thing that many people have said, right, in Islamic circles. Many of them have kind of agreed to some extent that hijab did something wrong, but then they're like, but you did something just as wrong by making this public. That's not the Islamic way of dealing with things. So here's her explanation of why she went public.
I decided to come out publicly about my case to preserve my aqidah and to spread the right Islamic ethics. After suffering.
So Aqidah is her religion, her faith, basically, just in case you didn't know what that meant.
From destructive doubts, and I did go through lives and courses and emails and one-to-one conversations. I came to a conclusion that the only way I'm going to be able to reconcile with my faith is only when I share all the details of what I have gone through, which was extremely atrocious. I realized that our aqidah has been preserved, Quran and Sunnah and scriptures and history, through the preservation of by keeping those who are in place of trust accountable for their actions. I did this also because I had to scream in regards to the unethical wave of ideas circulating around marriage that started coming from him. And contrary to many other guys who spoke about these kind of ideologies before, he had a religious credibility. He had religious knowledge. People trusted him. So he was using our own Quran and Sunnah and misrepresenting them completely, with complete disregard to maqasid al-Sharia and usul al-fiqh, regarding implying harm to people who are around you. I decided to come out and speak about.
I'll pause it there. So what she's saying is saying that hijab is misrepresenting the religion, It's bad enough that so she said basically she has two reasons. One, personal hurt, right? Personal trauma. And two, he's misrepresenting the religion by ignoring the spirit of the Sharia. That's what that phrase means. The spirit of the law. He found a legal ruling that justifies him, but he's ignoring the principles behind the law. He's ignoring the spirit of the law. And I just want to get your guys' thoughts on that.
So this is a tricky one because this is a take you would expect from someone who still believes, someone that, you know, this is kind of my problem with, you know, there's so many different ways to interpret the religion. There's a large room for difference of opinion, which is why there's so many sects. There's even like Shia, Sunni, Ahmadi, right? And these people look at the same sources. Some of them may disregard parts of them and, you know, accept some of them. But the reality is that you can find whatever you're looking for. And if you want to find good things and ignore the bad things, then you'll do that if you're a believer, right? And here's the thing, like the existence of anything that's good, say for example, you know, Quran says you should give in charity. That doesn't mean that Muhammad was a great guy. Like Hitler loved puppies. Okay, just because Muhammad did a couple of things that maybe we can consider good, that doesn't take away from the fact that he was overall a terrible, terrible human being. And he brought like, you know, in total suffering and mayhem and, you know, like all of these terrible things for humanity and all of the Muslims, all the women suffering under the system, not to mention the jihad violence and all the other things that came out of this. None of that goes away just because he did a few good things, right? If you want to grant that. But what she's saying, I think if I want to just step back 1 second and talk about what she said about how the religion was preserved. We saw some other clips of her where she was concerned about the preservation, right, of the Quran, and she was calling into some shows to ask about that. And this is one of the big, you know, things that has popped off now very recently, which is the holes in the narrative, which again we have to thank our favorite Mohammed Hijab for. He's the one that him and Yasir Qadhi, you know, he cornered Yasir Qadhi in such a way that he had no choice but to talk about this. But it even goes deeper than that. It was Farid that exposed Yasir Qadhi way back when, because Farid was on a private mailing list. Some people don't know the story. Hopefully this is not like, I'm not repeating what everyone knows already, but basically Farid was on a private mailing list for students of knowledge that Yasir Qadhi was on. Farid exposed him to, I think, Dawa Man's teacher, and then Dawa Man's teacher, Dawa Man's this other extreme Salafi guy, decided to make a video exposing Yasir Qadhi as being this deviant that doesn't believe in Quran preservation. Of course, you know, Yasir Qadhi had to do damage control after that. He wasn't saying it's not preserved, but he was saying there's a lot of problems with the narrative, right, as we now know. And then Mohammed Hijab thought he's going to be the hero and he's going to solve this problem publicly. Instead, it just created even more mess, right? So anyways, long story short, this has created a lot of doubt for people because this is something that the scholars always knew. It just wasn't common knowledge. And there wasn't someone like, you know, someone like me or David Wood or someone, you could talk about this and, you know, it'll gloss over the Muslims' head. They're like, oh, whatever, it's these guys, we don't care what they think. But when Yasir Qadhi says it and he's inside that circle and he's a believer and he's admitting this and he's a knowledgeable, scholarly individual, it's much harder to just ignore it. So I think she was affected maybe by this. I don't know if it was related to this whole, you know, trauma that she just went through, but she's connecting it back to that. And she's saying, you know, if we don't hold these people to account, the way the religion was preserved was through this same method. And so what I want as a sincere Muslim is I want to hold him to account for the terrible things he's saying. And of course, it's not seeming to land with the Muslim community. But there is she is getting a bit of, what's the word, traction. Mm-hmm. Because ever since Salman took her case on, and you can see on Salman's channel, a lot of Muslims are supporting her. In fact, there's another video we were thinking of responding to, we didn't get to yet, which is another kind of smaller Dawa guy. His name is Fayyad Fit, and he's a friend of Mohammed Hijab's, and the language he uses is studying it, like it's very subtle, but you can see that he is not sure anymore. It's gone from Mohammed Hijab, everyone believes him, no one believes her, she's a crazy woman, to like now even the Dawa people are like not sure what to say anymore because the evidence keeps getting worse and worse for hijab. And now they're like, I can't, if I defend him, then I'm going to be held like, I'm going to be one of the back, like Ali Dawas. he's gone down the gutter because of hijab. He put his whole thing about defending hijab. And he's like, he looks like such a fool now, especially because she had the copy. I don't know if it was her copy or where it came from. I assume it's her copy or someone else that was involved with the recording sent it to her. We don't know, right? I have no idea where it came from, but exposing that interview makes Ali Dawa go down the toilet too. His reputation is now taking a hit. And then on top of it, he doubled down and he's like, oh, Salman, he's a terrible guy too. And Salman has a copy of that interview as well. But he defended Salman against his ex-wife. And it's just the damage is getting worse and worse. Like the damage control needs damage control now. Ali Dawa on that upload he did, but he was like kind of like slandering Salman. He had comment after comment from people saying, what are you doing? Why are you changing sides? I thought you were on his side. Now you're suddenly flipping. What's going on here? And then, I don't know if you saw this, Ali Dawa was like, you're all a bunch of Christians writing this. Like, did you see that? Yeah. Yes.
He pinned a comment like, I know basically everyone in the chat is a Christian. And that's why I like sort of, so if you sort it by top, like all the top comments are against it. But if you sort it by newest, they're all against him too. Like literally every comment, maybe like 1 or 2% is supportive of him. Like all, and those aren't all Christians, right? There might be some Christians who are interested in it, but
yeah,
clearly his Muslim audience is like, this is not good, right? Why are you doing this?
Yeah, exactly. And so going back to Aisha's message here, what I see is I see a sincere Muslim that feels like she's struggling with cognitive dissonance and she's trying to go according to her own religious values. How can I fix this? And why am I doing this? She's trying to justify from her religion. I'm doing this because I want to preserve what I want to do is, help other women or whatever she's trying to protect other people from going through the same things she went through. And she's doing it because this is how the religion was preserved. But of course, I don't know if this happened before or after the clips of her talking about the preservation. And maybe she found a way to keep it together in terms of her cognitive dissonance. Maybe she feels okay with it now. I don't know. We don't know what her, like where she falls on the belief spectrum. But I think the focus we want to talk about is not about whether she believes or not, but about, is this story adding up? Is what she's saying consistent?
Mm-hmm.
Is she a Zionist, Elon Musk, whatever, like, or is she like a Muslim? Like that's what we're trying to show here, that she's Muslim actually, right?
Yeah, and this is completely consistent with what they attacked her for in the Ali Dawa video of having doubts, because in one of the public tweets she made is like, I'm having doubts about Islam because of this situation, because of the sexual abuse case that that is, my case. And then they're like, see, she's not a Muslim. She doesn't believe it, blah, 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 blah. But well, here she's just saying like, the reason I went public is because I want to still believe. So it seems pretty consistent to me.
Just real quick, I just wanted to say too, I'm like trying to put myself in her mind and understand like where she's coming from with all this. Like, I was close to apostasy, I still believe, literally the moment I went through my own trauma in this religion, I felt like I buried that faith that day with my late husband. I buried my faith, but then it's like, you just oscillate. I felt like I was oscillating constantly for years, like doubting, then, I'm okay with this, doubting that I'm okay. If something would happen, I doubt again, then something else would happen and repair that. It's very distressing to go through trauma and then, try and understand, is it because of my religion? Is this why this is happening to me? Or is it not the religion? Is it people? What is it here?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question for sure. Let me take one super chat before we continue from Ultra.
من ذا الذي يقرض الله قرضا حسنا? Who is gonna give Allah a good loan? Ya akhwati, this verse puts shame in my heart. My Lord is asking for a loan. Nothing's wrong with that guy. He has ability. but only a little bit of cash flow problems. Just needs a little bit of money right now. So give to Allah. Don't ask for anything back, guys.
Allah just needs some help, guys. Allah just really needs some help. So don't ask for anything in return. And I guess Alter probably didn't ask for anything in return. Thank you very much for that donation. Anyone know why Mohammed Hijab stands don't realize how despicable, disgusting, and disgraceful this deceitful defense is making Islam look? Because they like him. Because he's humiliating the kafirs or something along those lines. But I think it is affecting him. I think it is affecting a percentage of his audience, and that's why he keeps desperately responding, right? He says he's not responding, but of course he is, right? We all know he's behind the AI narration, and he's seeing that in comments that we probably don't see, right? Because they're private. They're not public comments here because they were deleted or they were just blocked in the first place, but he's seen them. He sees that his fans are turning against him, at least some percentage, and he's like desperately trying to do damage control. So I think some people see it, but I think other people are just so taken up in his personality and the aura of him humiliating David Wood, supposedly, and so on and so forth, that they're like, he must be right. He must be right about everything, because that's what my Islam is based on, is his confidence. I haven't done any actual research, but he's super confident, so I know Islam's true, and thus they are very easy, or it's very easy to overlook how humiliating this looks to anyone who's not a Muslim, or even anyone who is a reasonable thinking Muslim, how humiliating this looks.
If I may, real quick, yeah, that's the whole blind following. We see that throughout history, that there are multiple people throughout history who've had blind followers who just don't question the ruler, don't question what he's saying. I guess another example of this one would be the self-proclaimed Mahdi that's going around right now. You don't question, you just go hook, line, and sinker. And even though you can point out, say, hey, this guy's wrong in all these avenues, they'll still follow him because they've got their identity wrapped around that teaching.
I agree. It's really easy to look at someone else's false beliefs and be like, oh, those are kind of ridiculous. Why would anyone believe that? They must all be morons. But in fact, if this is what you've known from childhood, this is the only thing you've ever experienced, it's your entire identity, it's much easier to just kind of overlook any flaws. All right, let's get the rest.
Real quick, that should be a wake-up call for us, just as Christians as well, to make sure that we are not blindly following any one person, that our faith is built upon the Bible, upon the scripture that's on solid ground, and we've done our own research into it, and not just following one person, because if you do that, guess what? We are all flawed. We've all sinned. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. Everyone has their issues. And we've seen this in a lot of church situations where they have a very charismatic preacher that ends up getting a huge following around him, and then he ends up sinning, and then that falls apart. The point is not the individual. The point is the message itself, and that's where we should be grounded. You know what? We need to make sure that we're not falling into that sort of trap as well.
Amen to that. Luke says all religions and atheism need to be investigated and scrutinized, and I agree completely. I think that's one of the biggest red flags about Islam, and how it's not true is because one of the doctrines is basically don't question anything. If you have any doubts, you're already an apostate in your heart, which is nonsense. You should be able to have doubts, and you should be able to get answers to those doubts if what you believe is the truth.
You are a kafir. Get out of my house.
Yes.
Exactly. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. It's okay.
I was going to say, this is the exact reason that I am a Christian, actually, is because I questioned, because I was willing to push through and go, okay, like, I don't like how I feel about this and that and the other, but what does the evidence point to? And okay, I don't like how these Christians act, but what about Christ? Who was Christ historically? And what did he teach? And what are Christians called to? Not what are Christians living out, but what are Christians called to? And because I looked at all the evidences, and that's actually why I have my Seek and Share Truth conferences named that as well, is because in the Bible, as opposed to in the Quran, where the Quran says don't ask questions that'll cause you to have doubts, the Bible says, seek me and you'll find me when you seek me with all of your heart. And it talks repeatedly about how God calls us to pursue him and to call upon him, and he'll show us things that we have not yet known. So huge contrast in Christianity.
I was gonna say, just to be the devil's advocate for Islam, it's not completely, how do I say this? There are teachings in Islam that say it's okay to have some sort of doubts, in the sense that, not doubts, but like your faith goes up and down. There's a hadith that says that one of the companions said something like to Abu Bakr that I'm a disbeliever, and he said, why? And he's like, oh, because, and I'm paraphrasing, because when I'm with the Prophet, I feel like there's angels around. I don't know how he thought that, but anyways. And then when I leave him, my faith goes down the toilet. Not down the toilet, I'm paraphrasing. I'm adding a little bit of creativity there. And then Abu Bakr is like, yeah, me too. So my faith goes down the toilet too, without the toilet part. He's like, let's go talk to Muhammad. And then they went to talk to Muhammad. And he's like, yeah, this is completely normal. If you were the same with me as without me, then the angels will be shaking your hands or something like that. So there's some like level of like, it's okay to have some level of doubt. I think depending on how far it goes and how tolerant the person you're talking to and how rigid and dogmatic they are, you may or may not be a Muslim. So some people will consider certain doubts to take you out of Islam, but it depends like what's the level of doubt, right? So for example, if you like Sneeko with the hard, like, you know, Asim al-Hakim is very, very rigid, very dogmatic, and he's a very strict Salafi sheikh. So when he hears you have doubt, he's like, get out of here with your doubt, which wasn't like a nice thing to say. But at the same time, there's other sheikhs that will be like, you know, more forgiving, and they'll be like, well, let's try to work through it. And I was treated with kindness when I left Islam initially. But then it got worse and worse, because they're like, why are you talking about this publicly? You're going to misguide people. You're going to be a fitna. And I'm like, because these are questions I have, and these are things that people should, there's nothing wrong with me saying I'm seeing these things that are troubling me about Islam publicly. Like, there shouldn't be a problem with that. And it got to the point where, you know, I clearly at this point had left Islam after some of this happened. And some of the people in my life started to kind of, in a sense, boycott me, the Muslims, right? So unfortunately, most of my friends were very, very religious, and majority of them couldn't tolerate me being someone that openly attacked Islam. So they were like, it's fine if you have doubts, but you go talk to an imam. You don't go putting it on Facebook. At that time, Facebook was big. So now, you know, they like, yeah, you just keep it to yourself, go talk to an imam privately. And I did talk to imams privately, and it didn't help. Right. So then I'm like, well, it didn't help. So like, I'm going to post what I want to post. And at that point, people started cutting me off and saying, I'm not going to help you with your moving. And very, how do I say this? Very fickle friends, that people that knew me since childhood, some of them, and did dawah with me at dawah booths across the country and this and that. Well, not across the country, sorry, in my locality. And literally didn't want to help me and my family move homes because I'm speaking about Islam publicly. And at that time, I don't even think I had a YouTube channel. I just had a blog, which was like the beginning of this thing. But yeah, so there's some nuance here. Like, it's not everyone will consider you a kafir just because you're like, I have some doubts about Islam and I have questions. Most people would accept you as a Muslim, depending on how far you go with it. Right. And if you go past a certain point, then you're a disbeliever. So just want to say the reason I'm not that I'm defending Islam or like I love but I
definitely
do,
very helpful.
Yeah, I try to be the type of person that when I'm attacking my opponent, I don't want to straw man my opponent. I want to steel man them, and I want to attack the strongest points. Right. I don't want to attack something that's like laughable. Like, if you talk about this, people are gonna be like, come on, I don't even believe this myself. Like, there are things I've seen that people talk about with Islam that no Muslim even believes, right? And then it comes up and it's like, why don't we talk about the bigger issues that are like real issues in Muslims' lives that affect them, that are real holes in the religion, rather than these like little obscure things, right? So I'm not trying to defend the religion in any way, but
No,
just
yeah,
be a
definitely.
good opponent, right?
Yeah, and that's very helpful and fair. I think that us critics of Islam, we often kind of buy into this idea that Salafi Islam is true Islam, but I regularly point out and try to remind myself as well that yes, they're the most vocal voices, right? They're the most vocal people online, but they're really just a small percentage of people who identify as Muslims. And globally, Islam is very diverse, right? That the largest number of Muslims come from Indonesia, and there it's a very synchronistic religion where it's adopted a lot of local customs and cultures. Now it still has like some elements of like Arab superiority because like very religious Muslims adopt the dress and whatnot, but it's not like at all what you think of when you think of someone like hijab online. So we need to keep in mind that there's a lot of different views within Islam. It's not just like one view.
I do find that refreshing that you're saying, you know, when even about your own religion, you're like, it should be questioned, and you know, you're skeptical about things. That's a great view to have. And you know, I wish more people, including Muslims, would have these views to really not just take for granted, right? And that's where you get more certainty, is when you're able to question things and you feel comfortable with the responses rather than just blindly following, right? Which is what majority do, I think. So
yeah, I mean, I would agree that the majority of Christians don't carefully examine their religion either, but I would encourage them to do so because I have done that, and it's only increased my confidence. Now, it didn't necessarily increase my confidence the immediate time I heard something, right? Someone says something that I'm like, oh, that is actually a problem. But when I investigated, you know, I found a legitimate answer to the question, at least legitimate to me. All right, let's see what else Aisha has to say. Oh,
I just
sorry,
want to say real quick. I had this thought in my head. I don't want it to leave. You know what made me respect David Wood even more than I respected him ever before? When the Ravi Zacharias scandal happened and David released a video not defending Ravi, you know, just like the Mohammed Hijab followers and all those just blind, you know, just because it's Mohammed Hijab, no question. David's over here like, you know, no, you know, we should question this. And Ravi had close ties with Nabil. So there's not that blind following here just because it was Ravi, right?
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's get some more of Aisha.
This publicly, it was not because I am obsessed, but it was because I wanted to save my aqidah. Because I wanted to become and stay Muslim, to become a convinced Muslim, reconcile with it, be strong. My aqidah is strong, and I've got absolutely any kind of doubt in my heart. The only way our scriptures have been preserved was through accountability of people who are otherwise trusted by millions of other people. If I would have spoken publicly sooner, many McDonald nikahs would have been prevented. Many women would have been saved. Many kids wouldn't have had to cry their eyes out in situation of distress when their single mothers were going through extreme struggles, dealing with whatever they are going through. If I would have spoken sooner, many kids, single mothers, reverse sisters wouldn't have been harmed directly or indirectly.
So what she's saying is we have to hold our leaders accountable. That's the only way that we can. She says the preservation of the scriptures, but what she really means is the preservation of the religion, maintaining Islam. It means we have to hold people accountable. We can't just let them get away with whatever they want to get away with. And if I'd spoken up sooner instead of waiting 2 years, right? Because she tried for 2 years to get justice within the Islamic system. And then only then in desperation went public. She's like, if I'd done this sooner, right, that'd be 2 less years that Mohammed Hijab could have been harming new victims.
I have something, I think, actually not I have something, but Huda has something very interesting she told me. And I just wanted to share here about Aisha having power. You said it so beautifully. You want to like share that with?
Yeah, so I think one of the themes here is about restoring honor and dignity for Aisha, for the religion. That's how she sees this. And I believe that by her coming out publicly and, you know, talking about this, it's about restoring that again. So is that what you wanted me to touch upon?
Yeah, it's just that Aisha is underestimating how much power she has.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She has all the power here. She's the one who holds this story inside of her. She lived it. She was there. She was communicating with him. She knows what happened. You know, it doesn't matter on Ali Dawa's channel, Mohammed Hijab's, how many comments they're saying, oh, she's a liar. She's just a liar. It doesn't, none of that matters. She's the one who has all the power to bring this down.
Yep, she has all the details. And, you know, people can tell, like I said, that even the Fayyad fit, which we're going to respond to at some point, you can see this guy's a Mohammed Hijab supporter, like friend. And even he was like, you know, treading very carefully with what he said about Aisha. He's like, I don't think it's 100% true.
Yeah, he said that. He said, I don't think she's 100% like lying or whatever he said, but okay. Even if it's you're 99% sure, there's that 1%, right? It's like that's not what was happening just a few weeks ago. Just a few weeks ago, it was this is a crazy stalker, case closed, and Salman, everybody, they just keep adding complications to the story, right? There's more details. You know, they were talking in 2021, they were married in 2023. There's very specific dates, times, places, details. It's getting very hard for the hijab camp to cover this anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And so what she's saying here is actually true, that she could have saved a bunch of women. The problem is, I think, like David Wood was saying, they're going to make an example out of her. And, you know, all hijab had to do was just apologize privately. Whatever it is she wanted, just admit, I made a mistake. I'm sorry, you know, forgive me. Instead, he did the opposite. He's like, you're a liar, and you're a crazy stalker woman. And he released like this silly text messages from 2021. Then he tried to do the fake. It just kept getting deeper and deeper into the lies. And now people are starting to like question like whether they can trust anything he said, because it's just like it's not adding up, and everything she's saying is adding up. So his narcissism is his downfall here, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah, when you said that all he had to do was apologize, I was thinking back, no, he's not. He's too prideful for that. He's too much in his own head for that to be even an option for him. He can't admit that he was wrong, and have that humility to say, you know what, I screwed up. I made a mistake. I repented of that. I'm moving away from that and moving on. But unfortunately for her, it looks like she is still trying to hold on to Islam, although these are things that are taught in Islam. Yeah, Mohammed Hijab didn't do anything wrong according to the Sharia, according to the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad. He didn't do anything wrong according to the Quran, nothing wrong. And we can even see this, again, she calls herself Aisha. We can even see this in Aisha way back when she's trying to get justice for a woman who is being beaten by her husband. She goes and appeals to Muhammad, and Muhammad just rejects her in favor of the husband. So,
just to be clear, I find this a bit confusing because there's a lot of Aisha. So whenever I'm referring to the modern Aisha, I call it Sister Aisha. And because you were just talking about the Aisha of the Prophet's wife, right? His child bride. So yeah, there's different Aishas that we're talking about.
Who ate the apple?
All right, let's go ahead and get the next clip from her. This one's called I'm Not Sadistic.
Ali or none of those shuyukh that got involved have ever consulted me about any of the screenshots or these things that they are presenting as if they are factual, and the reason for which they made their mind about my case. He never gave me da'wah in regards to reaching out to the non-Muslims or the shaitan, I call them shaitan. Never presented me with any alternatives or told me, okay, sister, listen, we're sorry, but this is our conclusion based on X or Y and Z, or sister, we are happy to conduct our own investigations and so on. It's because hijab had admitted absolutely everything in front of them, but they just simply decided to keep quiet.
So what she's saying is, you know, all the accusations they're making now, whether it's, you know, you were shaking hands with Shaitan when you were trying to, in desperation, to reach out to David and Abdullah, or it's the curse that she asked to be brought upon Mohammed Hijab and his family, or the screenshots that the obviously fake screenshots, been over that previously, but that they're presenting none of this, right? They didn't confront her with any of this. And they didn't even say, well, you know, we investigated, this is our conclusion. They just ignored her, right? Just brushed her aside, said, go away. We don't care because, well, we like hijab, basically, is the gist of it.
And what is she?
Yep.
What is she supposed to do? I say this over and over again. What is this woman supposed to do when her entire community, and now it's getting bigger than that, it's around the world, everybody has failed her, shut the door on her face, told her she's crazy, you know, sending whatever they might be doing. They're probably threatening her. They're probably, you know, God only knows. But what is she supposed to do? Just stay quiet and say, okay, I'm just going to, you know, be quiet and stop now and just, you know, let him get away. No, she's going to come to people like David. She's going to come to people like my husband. She's going to talk to people who are going to make her feel seen, heard, and validated.
Yeah, I feel so I don't know her, and I feel a bit sad when I see her call non-Muslim shayateen or shaitans or whatever. And I don't know if that's her trying to redeem herself after being publicly sort of exposed in a sense. Like, so she was trying to get help from us. You know, she reached out to David Wood and she reached out to me many times on Twitter. I don't pay attention to all the replies I get on Twitter. I just don't. Like, there's too much noise on there, right? And so I missed it. And I didn't realize she was legit. Maybe we looked at it once and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't really want to look into this thing right now, right? So I didn't. And then they, you know, Ali Dawah found that out and posted that publicly to show that, and then showed that she was like, you know, asking questions on these call-in shows about the preservation and stuff like that. So I don't know if this is just like a kind of PR stunt, or it's quite possible that she's still so deep into this situation that she's trying to find, you know, a way to, I personally have a feeling that this is her trying to redeem herself in the community's eyes. It's not going to work. No one's going to accept her after. I don't think so anyways, but I mean, who knows? I really don't know what's going to happen, but this community is tough to please, basically, right? So even if that's what she's trying to do here by calling people shayateen or devils, that's not really going to help. And especially considering we're the ones helping her now more than
Right.
the Muslims. So I don't know, like, that is kind of sad to see that, but I don't know what was going through her mind. You know, she's going through a very difficult situation. So I forgive her if that's what she actually meant. And this isn't just some like stunt to make herself redeemed in the community's eyes, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm looking at this. Like, again, I'm looking at this with a lens, right? This is a lens of grief, loss, trauma. So, you know, I'm very empathetic to her, even if she says this. I still have empathy for her. I feel like, you know, she's going through a lot. It's like the dust needs to settle with all of this before she can kind of reestablish like who she is, you know, in this community, in this religion, she stays, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think what the community is expecting her to do is shut up, sit down. That's what they really want, because this is really looking bad for Islam. This is taking down the main Dawah guys and putting their name through mud. So that, yeah, as far as answering the question of what the community, I'd expect the community to want would be shut up, sit down, don't question. As far as what she's going to end up needing to do, she's going to have to come to terms with us. She's going to have to come to terms saying, hey, this is part of Islam. This was accepted. This is acceptable practice. And none of the Muslims got my back because they're too busy following Mohammed Hijab. And again, Islam has always been prone to this sort of abuse.
Yeah, I want to say
from
something
very
about that.
early.
Like, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, from very early. I would point to Mohammed as the example of that. Don't question me. You know, even whenever he's throwing people out of his house, it's Allah is throwing you out of his house. I'm not that mean, but it's Allah who's throwing you out of my house. Don't stay too long from now on. So
I was going
go
to
ahead.
say, just to be a little bit more broad scoped about Islam, again, what I'm going to say is that in Islam, there is a range of things that can be done. So, for example, we see a bit of back and forth between Sister Aisha and what she's saying versus what Muhammad Hijab says. Muhammad Hijab was saying, I don't have to see your family. I don't have to meet your dad. I don't have to, whatever, I can mail you on Zoom. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, all these things, and nobody will blame me for it. The fact is, people will blame him for it, and people are blaming him for it. Muslims are blaming him and saying what you did was, this is where there's, again, it's a bit of cognitive dissonance for the Muslims, because there are better ways to act, and then there's Muhammad Hijab ways to act. And both of those are within the range of what is acceptable in Islam. And what I'm trying to say is that the religion's bar for what's okay is very, very low. And that doesn't necessarily mean that Islam is encouraging you to do that. And a good example of this, and because I don't want to strawman the religion, is misyar marriage. Pretty much every single scholar will say to you that misyar marriage is bad. It's a bad idea. It's a terrible deal for most women. You are going to regret it. Yasir Qadhi has said in his video we did on, in fact, my wife is the one that told me about misyar marriage. I didn't even know about it. And we looked, and I started looking into it. So I'm like, wow, this is crazy. But Yasir Qadhi is like, misyar marriage, you do it at your own risk. I do not recommend it. It is a bad idea. However, it's halal. And I cannot make it haram what Allah made halal. Why is it halal? Because Muhammad himself married Sauda, and then he made a special deal with her that he'll take away her special deal. I'm like, he basically scammed her. So he basically said, I'll take away your nights, 1 out of 9 nights or whatever. I don't know how many were alive of his wives at that time. And I'm taking your nights away. I'm going to sleep with Aisha instead. Now, this seems completely unfair. This goes against what the Quran says of treat your wives fairly, equally. And on top, but somehow it was allowed. Allah said, it's fine. You can make a deal with your wife. So what happened? What happened is, because of this, scholars say that now what we call misyar today is allowable because Muhammad did it. Muhammad did it to Sauda. So therefore, how can it be haram? Because he made a special deal, and the deal is clearly an unfair deal. What did she get? She got to remain as a wife. What did he get? He got what he wanted. She got nothing. So basically, she agreed to stay in the situation so she wouldn't be divorced. So she would maintain the status of wife of Prophet, right? Now that's a very shitty status. And on top of it, the deal sucked. Now Muslim women today are getting the same shitty deal because Muhammad allowed it. So as critics of Islam, we will say, well, your religion sucks. It doesn't protect women. The lies that you guys have that Islam allows marrying 2 or 3 or 4, but they have to be treated equally, that's all lies. Because look, Muhammad himself didn't treat his wives equally. Nobody can treat their wives equally, right? But anyway, so this is what they say. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm putting a little bit more nuance again. But what I'm saying is, yes, even scholars themselves will say this is a bad thing, but you can do it. So Islam, yes, it doesn't protect women, but it doesn't mean Muslims are going around recommending that you should have a misyar marriage. And most Muslim, if you ask them, they will not recommend it. They will not want it for the wives. I'm sorry, for the wives, for the daughters or the family members. They wouldn't want the sister to have a misyar marriage. Why would they? It's bad. In most cases, it's like a terrible deal. So why would you want it, right? For your own family members. Same thing with muta, right? Why would you want muta, which Shias do? Why would you want your sister? It's like it feels like prostitution, right? So these things are not good. Unfortunately, the religion doesn't protect women, but that doesn't necessarily mean these things are encouraged per se, right?
Well,
yeah.
Going
Go
off
ahead.
of that real quick, Mohammed Hijab doesn't recommend it.
Right.
He specifically said
That's what I was
in a
gonna
live
say.
stream, I do not recommend this. So it's not recommended. It doesn't mean at that time of that live stream, he was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not recommended, but he's still doing it.
Right. So, I mean, there's two concepts, right? There's what's allowed, and then there's what's ideal in Islam. And it's not ideal, but it is allowed.
Yeah. And what we're seeing here is her talking about the higher level of what should be done, right? Unfortunately, the lower level is way too low for what should be not allowed, right? So, sorry.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. And when the whole McDonald's nikah thing came out originally, a Muslim made a video criticizing it, and his comments were very humorous to me. They weren't intended to be humorous, but they're very humorous to me because it kind of really shows exactly what we're talking about here. He's like, this is disgusting, this is immoral, this is dangerous, it shouldn't be done, and it might be a violation of Islamic law, right? Is what he argued in the video.
What was this?
I'll get you the link to the video. Sure. I don't know the guy. I don't really know anything about him. I think he's not really like a Dawa guy per se. Like he's just a YouTuber who is a Muslim. But anyway, he saw the thing that Mohammed Hijab had done, where he's joking about doing a marriage for a bride price of a McDonald's meal, and he's like, he's criticizing Mohammed Hijab, and he's saying like, and then like his conclusion is like, in this video, I'm going to show that this is disgusting, immoral, it's a dangerous practice, no one should do it. And I'm even going to show it might be against our teachings, right? So that's kind of the idea, that there's a level of what's good, and then there's a level of what is allowed, and it's much lower bar than, because he wasn't confident that it was against Islam, but he was confident that it was immoral.
Can I just add one more thing, which I think was interesting in what you said, which is, if your religion is not preventing these harms, if your religion is not encouraging family values, why do you want to follow that religion? How can you really, with a straight face, believe this is from God? It's like the bottom. Women are the bottom of the bill. They get the bottom of the bill. Like, not only, even before the misyar marriage, there was still a problem with concubines. Muslim men can have concubines. And I used to wonder this too, like, why does Allah not just insist that you marry these slaves? Okay, Islam supposedly encourages freeing slaves. So why not encourage marrying your slaves too and making them wives, not treating them like basically disposable slaves, which is what you sleep with them and then sell them at the market, right? And to someone else, like, which is what ISIS did too. So anyways, yeah, the bar is so low for how women are treated that you got to ask, why am I even believing in this anymore? How is this from God? That's what I would ask.
Yeah, I would ask the same thing. And I did want to clarify here for weird stuff. He said, but Mohammed Hijab, told her, Aisha, a normal marriage, not a misyar. He changed it later after he spoke with her father and after they married by phone. So that's not actually correct. It would be a misyar marriage in all circumstances, because she's already giving up some of her rights by agreeing to keep it a secret, by agreeing that he doesn't have to go by the schedule of nights they're supposed to spend together. But she has a very different expectation of what rights she gets than what he says after they have been married, right? After they've done the 60-second contract, as Mohammed Hijab describes it elsewhere. So she was always agreeing to a misyar. That's not actually what the disagreement is. The disagreement is, she said, basically the only thing I'm giving up is the right to be publicly known and the right to have a specific schedule, right? Of this night is mine, this night's your first wife's, so on and so forth. And, getting equal nights. So she's kind of giving up the equal nights thing, which is what makes it a misyar, but she wasn't agreeing to, hotel only. She wasn't agreeing to no financial support or any of the other things that he tried to put upon her. All right, let's get back to Aisha's statement here.
Based on the screenshots that I've just shared right now that are in the video screening, prove they are not photoshopped. And the screenshots he provided on their platform were fabricated. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Allahumma ajurna fi musibatina wa akhlif lana khayran minha. Although subhanallah al-azim, yani hijab, and he's in a position of trust. I don't know how to emphasize enough about this, to be really honest. The only thing I could ever possibly say is this whole great scenario and scandal and so on and whatnot, I did it. And I am ready to risk absolutely everything about it. Because I did it to preserve my own aqidah, my own faith. That is never going to be preserved except when I'm going to be exposing Mohammed Hijab for what he actually really did and for what he actually really is. I'm not addressing the talk about the pieces of information he is parroting and copy-pasting from our religion, but I'm here talking about his authority, his trustworthiness, his extraction of his own conclusions and ahkam, jurisprudence, and making it himself into something that the Prophet ﷺ did not preach and he did not recommend. In his whole life, 23 years of da'wah, came to actually fight against harming others.
So again, she's kind of giving how she understands Islam. She's saying that the Prophet would not agree with this stuff. He may have allowed it for convenience from now and then, but by the end of his career, he would fight against this. He wouldn't stand for any of this. So basically, she wants two things, right? To preserve her faith, she needs to expose Mohammed Hijab, his personal character and whatnot, and also expose that he is making legal rulings that he's not qualified to make. She's saying, I'm not making legal rulings, but he is, right? She's not saying the legal rulings are wrong because she knows she's not qualified to say that. What she is saying is that he is presenting his own legal rulings under his own authority alone is what she's trying to get out here. And she feels that it goes against the spirit of the teachings of Muhammad the Prophet.
This is an issue in general. I feel like, one of my very good friends is a Muslim still, and she knows all about me and what I do, and she doesn't judge me or anything. But, Aisha here has her idea of what Islam is, and Mohammed Hijab has his idea of what Islam is. And this is a big issue, a tale as old as time. Everybody has their own idea of what Islam is, but I mean, we all know what it is. We can look at the authentic sources, but yeah.
And Allah says she's saying she will apostatize if she doesn't get justice. Well, she's not like saying that as a threat, right? That would be a very threatening way to put it. What she's saying is the only way she can preserve her faith is by arguing that she's been treated unjustly, right? Because if what she experienced was justice, then she can't be a Muslim, right? She can't accept that is from God. It basically is what she's saying. That if this is Islam, then I can't agree with that religion.
She may have to come to terms with that once she actually dives into sources and realizes, Muhammad kind of lived this. Even if you try to claim that he didn't promote it, he definitely lived it in a lot of ways.
He's ultimately the problem at the end of the day if he's allowing something that's harmful to his followers, whether or not he does it. For example, Messenger of Allah, we're horny and we want to sleep with these captives of war and the wives are not here. What should we do? He's like, you can pull out. Go ahead. And he let them do it, right? I mean, he did it too. But it doesn't matter whether he did it himself or not. He's ultimately responsible for each and every single ruling in Islam that comes from him. So yeah, he's the problem. At the end of the day, he's completely the problem. So
absolutely. And a reminder here from Marcos to like the stream. I appreciate that, to make sure that YouTube spreads it. Let's get the last couple seconds of this audio clip, and then we have those screenshots you referenced, which will only take a second to look at, and then one more audio from her.
Well, you actually just simply cannot do it. Why did you completely destroy this woman's life? Because I can. Here come the screenshots about the IDF. I was there describing what Mohammed Hijab has done to my life.
All right. So she references there at the end. It wasn't clear what she was talking about, but if you know the whole story, you know that in Ali Dawa's video, he tried to make it look like she was supporting Israel, when in fact the actual context of that tweet is exactly the opposite. But she's saying there they're taking these screenshots, they're distorting things, they're lying about me. Why? Because they can, right? That's what Hijab himself said to me, is he's doing it because he can.
And obviously on her YouTube, on her shorts, I mean, it's all pro-Palestine. That was, that was another way to try and basically discredit her, paint her as crazy, make up this whole lie. See, look what, she says about Palestine, da 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 da.
That was so bad. That was so incredibly bad.
All right, so I'm pulling up one of the two screenshots she has here. So she scrolls through it pretty quickly here. I'll go back and I'll pause it so we can get the gist of it. But I just wanted to play it first. So this was sent on October 15th to Sheikh Mohammed someone. Basically, this is her describing her whole story. I think that her purpose of showing this is that she's been telling the same story all along, right? That she didn't just make this up recently. This is just a message that she sent to, it says there, Sheikh Mohammed Ahmed, that she's trying to get his attention, to get justice for her situation. So it starts, I wanted to share with you that I strongly believe Hijab has to be called out by name publicly as a person unworthy of trust in topics related to, let's jump forward here, marriage. He is influencing youth to engage in secret marriages. He himself did a nikah for a McDonald's meal. He knew the guy intended to divorce her, so he knew that this was not a real marriage. In other words, similarly, he deceived me with fake promises, and he was open about it after the nikah. So after after he had her trapped, he was quite open about his deception. And he was explicitly trying to convince me to continue in a no strings marriage with no guardianship, complete secrecy, even from my own family, no kids, no home, nothing other than the hotel. Seems consistent to me. I mean, if that's her purpose of sharing it, it seems like she's been saying the same thing.
What she's trying to show is that she's trying to warn people. She's trying to get them to warn the women that this guy is a bad guy, and he's not only, he's not only like a perpetrator himself, as in he's doing these things, but he's teaching other people to do these things. He's teaching the youth. And you kind of brought up about the quality of his followers represent the type, like the fact that he's so popular shows you what type of crowd he has. Like when people were asking, I think we were discussing why do his fans, one of the super chats said, why do they believe him? Like, look at the type of person he is. This is the like superhero, right? The number one guy, and look how he behaves. And so obviously what she wants from this is she wants, accountability, and she wants people to know that what he's teaching is wrong. And so it doesn't happen to others. That's what I'm reading here.
And she says, I don't understand why no deal was made out of his actions, despite him using the religion to actively spread these views among the youth. His intentions are clear. He used all his effort in making sure he has a safe exit and zero information in a potential making of a family. He is not only one, but the most influential person encouraging falsehood in this topic. Truly, I don't understand why a committee of scholars was not formed to come out disowning these individuals by name and warning the youth following them, especially him. And then she goes on and on about how there's no justice in this situation. And I mean, it seems that her gripe all along hasn't been like, I deserve more money, or he didn't give me what I deserve. He gave me a divorce. That's all I'm entitled to, really. But I want others to know about this, right? I want others to. People have asked, what is she looking for? What she's looking for is people to be aware of this situation, aware that Mohammed Hijab is not a good guy, and stop listening to him for their confidence in Islam. Stop looking to him for dawah. Stop making him famous. Stop making him lots of money spreading these lies. That seems to be what she's after.
She simply wants accountability. And I don't think she's asking for much. She wants the other scholars, all of these people who, are out there, the Omar Suleiman, Yasser Birjas, everybody, just all of these famous imams and da'is and everybody. She wants somebody to say, to call this out for what it is. but here she is standing alone, this single mother, just up against this whole world.
I'll go ahead and play the last little bit here. There's no justice for any of the girls harmed by this. They shouldn't only be called out. In other words, a dawah guy will call out a woman, right, and say that she's violating the faith or whatever if she makes this accusation, but no one ever calls out the men. I call for there to be public disciplinary measures against them by the scholars rather than them being applauded and told what you do is halal. So she says, I want someone to agree that this is not right, right? That what happened to me and is happening to many other girls, other women, and I'm sure it is, right? I'm sure that she is not the first victim of Mohammed Hijab, and I'm sure that there are many victims of other dawah guys because they think they can get away with it. I mean, that's the point that Ali Dawah was making in his video before he knew this was about hijab. He said that the dawah boys think they can get away with this, and they're not wrong. The only way they will stop getting away with it is if women start speaking up. And then a woman tries to speak up, and what is the response? Oh, shut up, right? Go away. Let's slander you and get rid of you and do everything we can to undermine your testimony. Doesn't seem all that genuine from Ali Dawah or anyone else, right, in this situation. All these people she appealed to, I'm sure that some of them were busy and didn't have time to investigate or just saw a random text message from someone that they didn't know and ignored it. But I'm sure many of them were like, nope, I don't want to get involved because this will damage dawah. This will damage the reputation of Islam because Mohammed Hijab is so famous and powerful and important. And that's all they cared about.
And that's what it is too. With a lot of this dawah stuff, it's like all flowery and they paint this really beautiful picture and, Islam is this and that. They don't want to stand up and show this is what's underneath. It's like a rotting, ugly thing.
No, that's a lot of the teachings of Islam itself is appearance. Make it look good. Make it appear to be attractive. Make it appear to be something amazing. And hide any of the sins, cover them up, keep them under wraps because it might damage. So you can lie, you can deceive, you can manipulate. As long as it makes Islam look good, you're actually even obligated to do that, according to some teachings.
And then we have some text messages.
I just want to add to what he said. Hijab is probably too big to fail at this point, right? You have to, they might even feel, Mrs. Friendly Ex-Muslim knows when I was doing a live stream like 2 weeks ago, and I got all these people jumping on the stream, Muslims, like popular ones, like saying, oh, this is fake hijab, screenshot. They had that fake screenshot from the True Salafi one. At this time, this is still early on before the responses came out. And I'm like, this doesn't seem fake. What are you guys saying? But like, I have a feeling some of these people that know hijab may have known the truth. It's I can't imagine that they believe that one, like based on that one little post, that this whole thing is fabricated. And I have a feeling that it's a situation where he's just too big to fail. He is Islam according to them now. He's a public face of Islam. He has like 1 million subscribers or something. He's internationally known, whatever. So like, none of these sheikhs she's talking to, Muhammad Ahmed, whoever I don't even know who these people. None of us know who these people are. These people are not gonna put themselves out there against Mohammed Hijab. They're not. They're gonna take his side. They're gonna say, "I'm sorry, Allah forgive you." Huda, like, what sort of things did you hear when you were like talking to Muslims about like what happened to you?
What kind of things did I hear? What do you mean?
Like may Allah make it easy for you.
Oh yeah, all that crap. All these like platitudes, these useless platitudes like, oh, sister, have patience. It's like, sister, it's qadr, oh, sister, this and that. This just like, it's like, what in the world? Like, me being who I am, I didn't come from this background. I'm like, I feel like I'm in like, like a crazy town, like a crazy world listening to this. Like, this isn't normal to respond this way,
Indeed.
Can you imagine how devastating if if the Muslims woke up and actually saw what was going on, and this eventually did actually come out that 100% proof Mohammed Hijab did do this. I mean, at this point, I know he did do it, but that's proven to the Ummah that he did do this. There will be a lot of Muslims whose faith will be shaken because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, we mentioned Ravi Zacharias earlier. When the Ravi Zacharias scandal happened, a lot of Christians' faith was shaken, right? Because he'd done a lot of good work, let's just say, for the church, right? He'd made a lot of persuasive arguments for the truth of Christianity, and some people's confidence was based on that. But you mentioned David earlier, came out and kind of he had a nuanced take on it, but it certainly wasn't supportive of Ravi.
Right.
Mike Winger came out and he said that I don't think he was a Christian at all. I don't see how he could be a Christian and do this kind of thing. So you see Christians, right, willing to criticize it, even though this is damaging to Christianity for Ravi to have done these things. And I don't see that in Islam, right? So if they just threw Mohammed Hijab under the bus and they said, he's a disgusting individual, that would be the end of the story. But they're not willing to do that because he's just too important. He's too big to fail, as you said.
But to me, like David coming out, he has his nuanced, takes on things. I have so much more respect for somebody like David who's talking about this, that's coming from another Christian, Ravi Zacharias. I have so much more respect for him saying what he says, as opposed to just being apologetic about, oh no, we don't really Muslims. It's totally different. They go silent, or, it's not the same thing. We don't see any of these guys coming out and talking against Mohammed Hijab. And for me, as a Muslim, I think my faith would have been strengthened by people coming out and talking against Mohammed Hijab, but we don't see that happening. So I feel like there's probably a lot of Muslims out there right now questioning.
That's a great point. Wouldn't this have been amazing for Aisha, Sister Aisha, if people came out and condemned hijab en masse?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what happened. Instead, she got thrown under the bus.
To be fair, though, doesn't Islam have built-in, if you cover your sibling sin, that you're rewarded for it?
Yeah, so that's a tricky one. Let me think about this. There is a rule in Islam that you're not allowed to backbite, and you'll be eating the flesh of your brother or whatever. And there's this is a tough one. There's a line, right? Where's the line where it becomes okay to talk about something versus not okay? And I don't know, is it explicitly discussed anywhere? Like, where's that line? Like, when are you allowed to talk about someone being an awful person in public? Is it when they cheat? I don't know. I don't know what that line is. And I think you're right. That's part of it, that they want to avoid speaking ill of him because of should be his private sin. That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
I think what Elle's also referring to is the part where it talks about if you cover up your brother's sin on the day of resurrection, Allah will cover your sin.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the trade, again, you cover up their sin, and that's like, oh, well, Allah must know about Mohammed Hijab. So, okay, if I cover up Mohammed Hijab's big sin, then that's going to count for something on the day of resurrection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the intention of... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's going to be a new topic, so if you have something to say to what he's just...
I was just going to say, yeah, that's a good point. That I would say, if I was, again, devil's advocate, I don't think the point of that rule is to hide. I mean, how do I say this? This is a tricky one, because I do think Muslims would agree, some of them, that when something wrong has been done, that if it needs to be discussed publicly, that it can be. But I think it's a gray area, right? The whole hiding of sins thing is meant to be, the whole point of that is meant to be that, like, if you watch pornography or something, you don't go and put it publicly, this person watches pornography. You try to privately guide them back to getting away from it or whatever, right? Or I think where it gets tricky is when they harm someone else. Then I don't know what Muslims would say. Like, for example, if a man cheated on his wife, I don't know exactly what's the rule
Well,
on
actually, we do, because Mohammed Hijab and Ali Dawa both said that in the same live stream, that he said that he doesn't recommend secret wives. He specifically said if it is for the household, keeping peace in the household, men can definitely lie to their wives, and vice versa. They can lie to each other. So if you think that would keep peace within the house, then yes, you're completely fine doing it, according to Mohammed Hijab and Ali Dawa.
Yeah, that's
I do think, in fairness, though, that most Muslims wouldn't necessarily agree, right? Just because that's what's allowed and what's taught, can be justified based on the sources, doesn't mean the average Muslim has the same thought.
Yeah, absolutely. The average Muslim is much better than the sources.
I do think this whole like secret wives thing is like really shocking to a lot of people. Like, I don't think most Muslims, Muslim women or Muslim men actually know that. Well, maybe Muslim men, more of them know this, but I do have a feeling that the whole secret wives thing is really shaking people. Like when they find out that this is actually allowed, it troubles them, because they're like, this seems like cheating. And we saw that in that same video on the bit of the truth. Those Muslim women are like, one of them, she's like, I don't care if this is Islamic, this is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is secret wives thing. And then Muhammad Hijab's like, there's no such thing as caring about women's feelings and feminism, and we're Muslim, so we care about Islam, not about your feelings, and I'm not going to submit to women's feelings and feminism. Like he made it sound like anyways, yeah, I do think this is a huge problem, and I think it's great we're talking about this, so more people need to know.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just saying more people need to know. I'm done. Yeah.
Sorry, I think there's a bit of a lag. But so what I wanted to add to what you said, though, friendly ex-Muslim, you were saying, I think it's like actually more so, don't go and publicize the sins. I would still push back on that and say that doesn't seem to be the case, because it's specifically covering the sins. It's not don't publicize, it's specifically covering. And we see, like, in contrast in the Christian scriptures, what that looks like in Christianity, which is if somebody sins against you, go and take it to them directly. And if they don't listen to you, then go and take it to them and one other. And if they don't listen to you, essentially you go down this path and you bring it before the church. And if they still don't listen to you, then essentially reject them because they're not correcting their wrongdoing. It's not like that at all in Islam, where it's like, don't to publicizing it. It's like, no, don't do that, but don't bring it up at all. Cover it. In fact, go in the opposite direction and lie about it if you need to, in order to hide it. So I hear what you're saying, and I think that, there is some wisdom in, hey, don't like make public things public that don't need to be, but that doesn't seem to be what Islam's saying, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So I could just is it possible to share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, let me try this to see if this works. Chrome tab. So I just looked up on a website, Islam QA, just to kind of get, so I'm not, again, straw manning and making up something. The question is basically, this is in Saudi. Someone's saying, should I go tell the religious police about someone doing something sinful, whatever they know about, right? So they're saying, talking about helping believers, blah, blah, blah. If she's committing evil and immoral acts and does not give any sign of repenting, undoubtedly it's better to report her to the authorities. So I don't know if she has like a secret boyfriend, and they're like, yeah, tell the religious police, lock her up, right? And they're saying it might be obligatory, to discipline her and put a stop, right? And they're saying that, so basically it depends on the scholars and how they take it, but basically they're saying that what is meant in spreading news of shameful deeds we've been concealing is that, they're giving the example of Aisha, when Aisha basically was accused of cheating on Muhammad, and they're saying they shouldn't have, spread this gossip, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying that, we should overlook people, and, but then they're saying if this person is known for committing sins, does them openly and doesn't care, then this is an evildoer, right? And speaking ill of him is not regarded as backbiting. So it falls, the backbiting rule, again, we have a video on it. It's very problematic because it kind of, it protects, we believe, like, Mrs. Friendly Ex-Muslim and I, Huda and I, we believe this is a reason why, like, abuse and so many things like that. I mean, we ourselves, both of us know a woman that is pretending to be Muslim. She's a convert, and she was getting donations from people in the community, and she was lying. And we actually spoke to one of my Muslim family members about this, and they didn't want to get involved and like warn others because they're scared to like get involved and backbiting and this and that. So this is a problem in the community. But I think the intention of it is basically the saying, like this scholar, this is a Saudi Salafi, famous Salafi scholar, Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, was saying that what is meant by concealment is concealing the fault, but concealment cannot be praiseworthy unless it serves an interest and not lead to any negative consequences. For example, if an offender commits an offense, we would not conceal his deed if he is known for committing evil and mischief. But if a man is outwardly righteous, then he does something that's not permissible. In this case, it's required to conceal his deed. So it's kind of like a gray area.
Well, real quick here, I think you've already hit the nail on the head here. Because if we apply this to Mohammed Hijab's situation and say that, you know what he did to Aisha is even considered wrong in Islam, just for the sake of the argument, he would not be considered someone who is known for committing sins. So
that's true.
According to this, they would be obligated to cover up Aisha's thing, even if it's considered a sin. So I think that's
the obligation is a huge deal too, because it specifically says required in what you're reading. It says you're required to. So it's
in this case, you're right. I think this is a problem, right? This is a big problem for the community, which is that you have a righteous man, supposedly, and he did something wrong. He's not known to be an evil man or whatever. So we should conceal his sins, and this is probably what they're doing, right? So yeah, this is problematic for sure.
Yeah,
I just wanted to say quick that a lesser example of this: go on Muslim social media, go on Instagram, go on TikTok. If a woman isn't wearing the hijab, quote unquote, correctly or whatever, or basically, if you as a woman, you're not operating the way this mob wants you to, they're going to, quote unquote, call you out on it. And you see this, and they will justify it with this. Oh, if she's sinning in public, you have to say something. So a lesser example of something like this would be going online and criticizing the way women look and dress.
Yeah, it's funny that with women, they'll like publicly attack them. Ali Dawa does that. He used to do that all the time on his show. In fact, he did that recently where he called out this cute Muslim influencer couple, and he's like, look how evil they are, and like they're hugging, and like she's kissing him, and like whatever, he's dressing her up. It's so pathetic. It's like, this is literally what you taught. Like, you have nothing better to do than like go around like insulting people for like being, cute or whatever. And yet they do this, but then when hijab does something that's actually immoral, not just hugging on camera, it's like, no, we can't talk about that.
Yeah, it seems to me that this ruling is likely like, hey, look, if somebody doesn't already know about the sin and you can make them look good, then go ahead and hide it, because that makes Islam look good. But it doesn't look good if the sin is already public and you try to hide it, because then people will know that you're trying to hide it because it's already known. So this actually makes it seem far worse.
Yeah.
Like
to kind of sum it up here, what you read there was consistent with my understanding, which is also what Mary put in. And I've learned that Mary's always right about everything. But she said, if committing it openly, it's not hidden sin. You only conceal hidden sins. It all operates under the honor shame principle. So like, if people already know about it, then they absolutely should be called out and it should be exposed. And arguably that's the case here about hijab now, interestingly enough, right? Because now that it is public, it's no longer a private sin. And now it seems the principle should be that he's held accountable. But as long as no one knows about it other than the people involved, then it should be kept hidden. It should be kept private, because the shame you bring by revealing it is more wrong than the act itself, is the idea.
Yeah, but now if they admit it and go on the record, now Mohammed Hijab's not the only one that's going to be going down. You now have Ali Dawa, you now have Hikikachu, you have all these people who have been caught covering this up. And if they say, oh, well, nope, it was actually true the entire time, we were just covering for him, that damage, that shame is going to be so much greater now than if they would have just said at the beginning, no, he screwed up. He needs to repent of this. He screwed up. It was wrong. We move on.
Did Hakikaju, I didn't watch his thing yet.
Bad.
I think I heard he blamed her, of course, but did he deny it? I don't think he denied it, right? He just blamed her for it. Did anyone watch it? I don't know.
I haven't seen it.
Elle seen it. She's relayed some of the things to me. There definitely needs to be an investigation ASAP into who Hikikachu's interacting with, considering he made it very clear in that if any Dawa guy hypothetically had a 16-year-old bride, secret second wife, would that upset you? And it's like, that's odd.
He really like kept going on that over and over and over. I didn't see the first half of his video, but as soon as I jumped into her stream partway through, and then we went over what I was there for to the end. And yeah, there was a lot of stuff about this isn't scandalous, this isn't scandalous, this isn't scandalous. Not only that, but let's not make it about Mohammed Hijab, let's make it about me. If say I had a 16-year-old secret second wife, would that be like a big deal? Like, no, that wouldn't be scandalous. And I even did this poll to prove that it wouldn't be scandalous. And, you know, there were only 30% of people that, you know, thought it wasn't scandalous. And, you know, we all know that those are all undercover Christians and that those aren't true Muslims. The answer that it is scandalous. And it's like, whoa.
Okay, I have a question for you, Elle. So you watched this and you jumped in her stream. Did Daniel suggest at all that Aisha is straight up a liar?
So that's what I was trying to comment to. I wasn't there for the first part, so I can't speak to what he did and didn't say while I wasn't there. But he essentially said it's not a big deal, that even if she was telling the truth, essentially, so like kind of hedging on that is what I more so heard. Even if she was telling the truth, it's not scandalous. It's not a big deal. It's just a normal marriage. Be quiet. Stop making it a big deal.
Yeah, that's an admission that he knows it's real.
Exactly.
And Hijab in his newer AI video did the same thing himself. He's like, what are they alleging? That a marriage happened and a divorce happened? Well, that's Islamically valid. I mean, that's the defense he really wants to make, is that they were married. He wasn't satisfied. He divorced her. End of story. The reason he can't say that, well, one is because he dug himself into a big hole. But two, I think that his first wife will leave him. I think that's his real concern. That's Hijab's real concern, is that he kept this secret in the first place because he tried this crap before, and he almost lost his marriage over it when his wife found out about it. And now he has to be super careful not to lose his first wife, you know, his legitimate wife. And that's what he's concerned about. Not that Islamically he did anything wrong, or Islamically he just wants to say it happened. Nothing was wrong, right?
Where do we see this? I didn't catch that, but did he admit that his first wife has a problem now, or is this speculation?
No, this is speculation. But they said in one of the Behind Veils videos, they said that this happened in the past. That he took a second wife in the past and nearly lost his kids about it. That's why she's saying. That's why there was a comment about losing kids.
Okay.
Oh,
so
yeah. I did hear that this this is not the first time this type of marriage happened. I remember hearing that.
Right. Yeah. He kind of leaks. He tells on himself in those interviews. He does sometimes.
You know what, too? Like with the misyar, you know, there's no limit throughout your whole lifetime how many times you can do this. So they're saying this happened once before. So this is 2 times now, you know? So there's no cap. Like there's 4 wives, but there's no cap on misyar. You could have 3 wives and just cycle through misyar for however long you can keep that going.
Well, and he even at one point in a stream, I believe it was a stream that he did with Hakikachu, Daniel Hakikachu and Mohammed Hijab did a stream together, and they were reading off different people's like questions and concerns and stuff. And one of the things that Mohammed Hijab publicly recommended was if your first wife ever does something that upsets you, go and get 3 more to like shove it in her face. And so by that kind of like promotion, and he said, this is what I personally would do in your situation. If my wife ever upset me in such and such a way, I would go and do this. And so, yeah, it doesn't sound like he's new to this by any means.
Well, on top of that, in one of the videos, again, the same one that I've referred to in the past, about secret second wives, the reason that Ali Dawa and Mohammed Hijab put forth that someone would hypothetically have a secret second wife is if the first wife is threatening him to such an extent that he feels that the only option that he has is to go get this wife secretively so that she doesn't divorce him and then take him for everything he has and take his kids away. And just hypothetically speaking, that's the only reason why someone would ever need to have a secret second wife. Again, that makes some serious questions. Now,
I just looked it up just out of curiosity. I used an AI tool, and it says that Hakikaju did not claim that secret Messiah marriage between Mohammed Hijab and Aisha never happened. Instead, he explicitly said, Mohammed Hijab claims there was no marriage, so I'm only speaking hypothetically. Throughout the segment, he emphasized the hypothetical analysis. So basically, yet again, another proof that this did happen. Everyone knows now. Like, we're to the point now where it's like he's so screwed. How is he going to get out of this? I don't think he can.
Also, I just want to jump in and say about the secret second wives and, the man taking them and why. One reason I know of for sure is this is how it goes. You get your first wife, your virgin wife, you have a few kids, you're married a few years, and then you kind of want to, try something else. So then that's where this comes in. They want the first wife, they want the kids, the family they already made, but they want to try something different. So that's where this comes in. And that's the reason why, even with just, where a man says, hey, I'm getting a second wife, that's the reason. They just want something new.
So I'll take this comment from Daniel, and then I want to make sure we get through the last stuff of Aisha before you guys have to log off. So Pikachu said she was low value goods on the marriage market because she was over 30 and divorced and should have been honored to have a secret marriage to a public figure. And I think that was actually how she was viewing it as well, right? That was Aisha's mindset.
Yeah,
I'm not very valuable. Why would a man want me? Hijab's the best. I mean, this is like a dream scenario. So of course she was able to be manipulated into it because she was thinking she found a great deal.
I don't know if I would say that she herself devalued herself, because a woman like this that waited this long to find someone doesn't give the vibe of desperation in any way. And so this may have been to her a good match because of the values being similar, the dawa, public figure, probably well off, and so she suspected that it was worth it even in a sort of polygamous relationship. But yeah, I don't know if she was explicitly like devaluing herself. But yeah, the rest of it I would agree with.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I was gonna say she may not have actually internally devalued herself, but she did in the chats with Hijab, basically saying that I know I don't have much to offer a man, basically meaning I know that the market would devalue me. But she might not have done that internally, right? She might have said, no, I do have value. Go ahead.
I think that too, and she said this so many times, that having a religious husband was, a part of her value system. And that was how it was with her first marriage. That's how it was with this marriage. And, for her to accept a marriage like this to Mohammed Hijab, he's not going to really be around that much. So I think the religiosity part, like who he was, that was meaningful to her.
Yeah, definitely. So on screen is the second list of text messages that she sent. This is just a conversation between her and Ali Dawa, basically talking about making the video, of which the audio at least is now public. So I don't think anyone denies that conversation happened, but she put out a text message, the text messages they had back and forth on that as well. And then we have her third audio statement here. This one's about 4 minutes long.
Our Quran and Sunnah and Islamic history and our scriptures and the well-being of our ummah has been preserved by men who have very specific traits. Without those traits, our religion would fall into the exact same thing that other scriptures did fall into. The only way to preserve those traits is through accountability and filtration. In our Ummah Islam, we don't cancel, we correct, we hold accountable, we investigate. If a person is put in a position of trust, loved by millions, followed by millions, trusted by millions, and he's spreading an extremely deviant version of marriage to the youth, creating chaos, I was about to lose my faith. Therefore, I realized there is only one way for me to preserve this aqidah, is in order for me to come out and scream. There is absolutely, I don't care what could ever possibly happen to me. I'm going to say the truth. I did put mubahala out there on the table. I'm going to present as much evidence as I can, despite the facts that you have cleared your tracks really well, perfectly. And whatever elements I was incapable to gather evidence for, like empirical evidence for, did put the mubahala on the table. Despite the fact, many things we believe in strongly, we don't only always rely on empirical evidence. We use other routes based on which we establish truth, information, and belief. The source of my emotion is my love to my faith. Anyone who could ever possibly come close to my faith and cause me doubts, you are going to see the exact same eyes that you saw last time. Bloody eyes. I've lost one of my closest.
Just going to put it there. Ooh. Said, you know how angry I was when we parted ways. That's what someone's going to see when they try to cross me on a religion as well. But very consistent, saying the same things that she's been saying that in her view, I disagree, but in her view, Islam has been properly preserved based on the reliability, the trustworthiness of scholars and authority figures throughout all the years. And so we have to continue to hold people accountable in the social media age is kind of the gist of what she's getting at.
I think it's pretty significant too that she's said things multiple times. I'm ready to risk it all. I'm ready to lose it all. She feels very strongly about getting accountability here. So much that she's willing to go to any route she can to get that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Friends, very long ago, when I was young, and I didn't have enough knowledge of Islam, and she left it. That has traumatized me. It's then, and this is my emotions, extreme emotions for the love of religion, for which I am contacting so many institutes, so many organizations. I'm attending so many courses I'm paying for. I'm opening so many recurrent donation accounts to a lot of them. It's because I would like to get my information right. It's because I wouldn't like to get to any kind of moment of time in my life where I would get some questions I'm not going to have answers for. This is the only obsession I have. This is what you can clearly see in the text that you have distorted is the context about how much I am ready to sacrifice. That text was extremely clean after a conversation over the phone about polygamy in general. And the only point I was making in those texts is expressing how much Islam and my religion is prioritized, is valuable to me. And even though I retracted those statements, I said, okay, I was laughing, I was just very emotional. You were determined to make that conversation look extremely disgusting and dirty. Our Islam stands out because the Prophet ﷺ said, لو أن فاطمة سرقت لقطعت يدها. Those who have conveyed and preserved our religion, they were honorable, trustworthy, honest. And we can only establish this through a rigorous process of accountability and filtration. He didn't stop. Allahu A'lam how many McDonald's nikah have been done.
What is she
the same ideas again.
What is she talking about when she said you tried to make those messages look dirty and it was very clean and what is she talking about?
I think she's talking about the sound bites that were put in the first video, like
Okay.
of her saying I viewed him as a god, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And then she said, I apologized for it. I was emotional. It wasn't a good choice of words. But you're distorting the actual conversation that took place, right? You're distorting what was actually being said.
Hijab doing that? Really?
I'd argue his entire comment section is about him being a god. They seem to think he can do no wrong.
Yeah, very interesting for sure. The double standard there. Elle did reconnect. Her picture didn't come up the first time, so I had to refresh it. There we go. Got her back. So yeah, I think that's what she's talking about. I think she's talking about, it's not super clear, but I'm pretty sure she's talking about the little tiny sound bites, which they say are like extensive evidence, complete conversations, not clipped in any way, which is just ridiculous, just based on the length of it alone. Let's finish off this soundbite, and then I know that you guys wanted to get off about 8 o'clock, so I'll give you a chance to put in a final word after we finish this up.
The videos about misrepresentation of marriage are still up there. They are still misleading so many youth. The right course of action is when you come out publicly, apologize to my father, apologize to my child, whose life you have completely destroyed, who you have absolutely and actually harmed. Apologize to all those children who have seen their mothers in distress, had to go through emotional and mental harm. They had spiritual issues because of these collaboration of views and rulings that you are misconstructing. We're not the people of Shabbat. We don't throw the net in the Friday and pick it up Sunday morning. And then we tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, well, technically we haven't sinned. And we are not Christian. We don't keep in hiding watching hundreds, millions of young children getting raped in synagogues. And then we are going to keep quiet to avoid the fitna. Our Quran, our religion stands up because we are going to make it clear. You have only two courses of action here, mubahala or admission.
So I think she was trying to refer to the Catholic priest abuse scandal there, even though she said synagogues. Totally misunderstands that situation. We've talked about it many times, don't need to go into all the details there. But in short, the church wasn't trying to cover it up for embarrassment or something along those lines. It dealt with the idea that a confessed sin shouldn't exist, that you can't use a confessed sin against. And the reason they knew that priests were abusing children is because they were confessing their sins to other priests. And thus there was kind of a conflict. They didn't know what to do in regards to the religious doctrines there. But even during the abuse scandal, the odds of a priest abusing a child were much smaller than, say, a school teacher. So blown way out of proportion to say this is Christianity or something along those
By the way, Thaddeus, we can't see each other.
Oh, yeah,
I can't even see myself anymore.
Nope. I'm just staring at myself
the audio,
the entire time nodding.
Yeah, sorry about that. Because I refreshed the page, you guys lost it, but the audience was seeing it.
There we go.
There we go. We're good.
So the audience is just seeing us all looking very confused then. Okay, good to know.
All right. So we were planning on going through the latest video from behind veils as well. So I'm going to leave that to you, Mr. and Mrs. Friendly Ex-Muslim. Do you want to schedule, not like this second, but do you want to address that a different day?
Yeah, you know what? We can I'd like blah, 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 blah. We'd like to have you on the channel as well. So let's schedule that. We're really happy to support you as well and bring some visibility to the work that you're doing, and would be honored to host you as well. So yeah, we can schedule something offline.
Yeah, definitely not here. I just wanted to see your opinion before, before I still had you here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're most welcome to go to it. We can go to it again. Doesn't matter. But yeah, we can save it for that time as well. But yeah, thanks for having us. Obviously, I was really happy to see that you shared a video, and you even mentioned that I don't usually share non-Christian channels. So, we have that thing in common that we're working on together, which is deconstructing Islam. It's something important to all of us here for various reasons, not necessarily all the same reason, but we all like it, and we feel like the system is bad for humanity, so we're motivated to talk about it. So we have that in common, and really happy to work with you on that. So yeah, I just want to say for myself, thank you so much, and really appreciated it.
Mm-hmm. Any last thoughts on the videos we watched today from Aisha?
Oh, I just wanted to say as well that I appreciate being on your channel and working with all of you guys, and it's really been a pleasure. And I hope that you guys can come on our channel and we can discuss some more bangers from Salman.
Absolutely. I thought the conversation today was really interesting and really helpful. I thought that both of you brought a really good perspective that, like, when I'm just talking to my friends who have the exact same views that we don't necessarily hear. So I thought it was very helpful.
Yeah, and I think that's the beautiful thing too about this stream. We all come from different backgrounds, born into it and converting into another sect, and Christians. And I'm very happy to work with you guys and provide any insight or anything that could be of value to helping you guys as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just about final words on the whole Aisha thing. I think what the closing remarks for me would just be that, what I would summarize or end the call on is just that what we're seeing here is a track record of consistency. What she said has been consistent from the very beginning. She's definitely very, very Muslim. There's no doubt about it. She's no Zionist spy or whatever the hell they're saying. Elon Musk plant or whatever, industry plant, whatever. She's Muslim. We're kind of like, we obviously disagree with a lot of what she said, but the fact that we are sticking our necks out to support her just shows that we care about our fellow humans, and we're not doing this because we hate Mohammed Hijab. That's not why. It's not because of that. It's because her story, I related to her story in my own way. This is a good example to share the awfulness of Islam. And, obviously that's not her motivation at all whatsoever. It's fine. But to us, this is a good example for people to see that this is a bad guy. Mohammed Hijab is a bad guy. And on top of it, what she went through was wrong. We need to support women like her because there's probably a ton other women like her. So that's kind of like what I would end off. And yeah, that's it for me.
All right.
Also, too, for somebody like Aisha, what's at stake here? Her reputation with her community, her reputation with Muslims, her family. There's a lot at stake here. So for her, as far as leaving Islam, that might not happen for years. It took me years to deconstruct this and finally say, this is it. So I'm giving her some grace with that as well, in regards to whatever she says, shaitan, Zionist, or, whatever she might say, us criticizing Islam. Sometimes it just takes people years, and that might be her case. Who knows?
Well,
and like, she might never leave Islam. That's fine too. Like, I mean, the whole point of this was there's something we can all learn from this, right? And it's not often that there's so much like publicity over a situation like this. In fact, Mrs. Friendly Ex-Muslim and I covered another story which was about Zaid al-Omar, another Dawa boy, not nearly as famous as Mohammed Hijab, and he was propositioning some woman to be a Monsieur wife, and she freaked out and she went public and she's like, what the hell is this, right? But that didn't get the visibility that this is getting. So kudos to her, a lot of bravery, going against her, pretty much her whole community at this point, going against every single scholar that's taken Mohammed Hijab's side, going against who knows what sort of intimidation tactics and what sort of pressure she's getting. Like, this must be like one of the most difficult things she's ever been through, yet she has not backed down to this day. She has some support, a very tiny little bit of support from one individual, Salman. That's it. Nobody else is supporting her. That's the one Muslim man that took her on and risked his own reputation for her. So much respect to her for sticking through this, regardless of her reasoning. Her reasoning is a good reasoning too. She wants to help other women that are going through the same thing. She doesn't want other Muslim youths to be influenced by hijab. She wants him to be condemned for being a slimeball that he is. So all of these are good things. And, I think all of us agree with supporting her, despite the fact that none of us follow the same religion as her.
Absolutely. And before we log off, I want to read this comment from Kay. If all Muslims were like Salman, we would not hate on Islam. It's like Mormons, yes, their religion is peculiar, but no one hates them and they're thriving communities. And I made a comment like that, like maybe a week ago. I don't remember the exact time I said it, but basically, like, this is the best what Salman has done is like the best thing I've seen any Muslim do in my time of observing Islam over the last 6 years publicly, 8 years or so overall. If that's what I had found when I started to dig into Islam, I probably wouldn't have ever started speaking out against it. I would have still thought it was false. I would have still thought it was the wrong religion and leading people astray, but it would be just like any other false religion. But Islam isn't like Salman, right? And generally speaking, at least not the public speakers, right? Individual Muslims you meet on the street, they might be, but Salman seems to be unique among people who are willing to go public.
I mean, the real proof of the pudding of what you're saying is the funniest. Like, I thought it was the funniest thing that David Wood left a supportive comment and he got slammed for not deleting it, so he deleted it. That was just the proof in the pudding that you're too good for Islam, dude. You're just too he didn't even care, he didn't mind, but everyone else did, so he had to delete it. Sorry, Huda, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I found Salman's channel. I don't even know when was that, 6-7 months ago, and yeah. I mean, I was wondering in my mind, it was so small, a couple thousand subs. I'm like, does anybody else know about this? I'm watching all these crazy videos, and Salman is he's the guy. It's in one of these true crime shows, right, where somebody has a body buried in the backyard, and somebody's there's a body back there. I know it's back there, and everybody's no. Salman goes and digs up that body, and everybody's So Salman is Salman is he's going against the mega mosque. That is a big, millions of dollars these organizations get and the people behind all this. And Salman's just nope, I'm going to go dig up that body.
Absolutely. So thank you both for coming on. I've really enjoyed it. I was really glad you were here to help us with this material.
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to continue a little bit after they log off.
Oh, okay.
So unless it's directly to them, we can say goodbye.
Well, it was nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. I've seen you before. I think I saw you on David's channel a long time ago, but yeah, it's nice to finally stream with you guys and connect. Also, there's a baby. I hear a cute baby.
My bad.
That's okay. That's okay. I know how it is, but yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so we'll drop off, but we'll keep listening in the background. We got kids to get to bed and school and stuff like that. But this was a pleasure, and yeah, we'll be in touch, and we'll keep listening. We'll try to keep listening in the background while we're getting them off, the little ones.
Absolutely. Thank you again for coming on, and I look forward to working with you again.
Yeah. Bye.
Take care, guys. Bye.
And I'm going to have to refresh the page because we lost your brother in Christ video. So give me 1 second to do that. But we are going to, I have a bunch of super chats to take, and we'll continue on for a good little bit regardless, for sure. I don't know how long Elle and Eric were planning on staying. So you guys let me know what you want to do. Do you want to go through the video from behind veils that we haven't covered yet, or because I mean it'll probably take us a half hour or an hour to go through that, and then we also have super chats and stuff. So what do you think?
I'm up for whatever. I mean, if you're already going to be doing it with them, you might want to save your opinions for the time that you're doing it with them, but I don't know about you, beloved.
I may or may not be bouncing back and forth between video and no video, but I can stick around. The primary thing that I wanted to encourage everyone is, regardless of this situation, how this specific situation plays out publicly, to remember that there's always power on the side of truth, and that we're seeing this more and more as demonstrated through this. The people who align themselves with truth, at least in the capacities to which they align themselves with truth, are eventually shown as such, at least to some extent. And that they don't have to worry about keeping their story straight. They don't have to worry about creating fake things to try to back them up. And consistently in the situation, out of the situation, where there is truth, there is power. Obviously, as Christians, we would affirm that the ultimate source of power is truth himself, Christ. And so when we align ourselves with him, all the better for that reason, but also just based on the way that he's designed reality. And so, yeah, even when it seems discouraging, like there's so much falsehood out there, like there's so many people that are purporting evil, even when there are people who are sharing truth in some capacity, but not in others. I just thought this was a good reminder and encouragement.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I'm going to take a couple super chats and then we will look at that video from Salman. There's not a huge amount of new material, but there is some stuff that directly relates to what we were just talking about. So I think it would be good to cover it if you guys are up for it. So let me take a couple super chats first, though. Well, actually, technically, this is not a super chat. It's gifted memberships from Jack Ray.
I can't answer this question in a 20-minute interview, nor is it wise to do so, which is why I never brought this topic up myself. You will not find one lecture of mine about this issue. It should never be brought up in public. And I don't like these idiots, and they are idiots, wallahi. This is not something you discuss amongst the masses, ya akhi. It's not wise. I encourage anybody who is really interested to go deep to take the class. I do this class. It'll be 1 year later.
Definitely not wise to talk about Reasoned Answers memberships in public, Jack Ray, but somehow you keep doing it anyway. Thank you very much for all your support for the channel and a super chat from Ultra.
Sir, how can we contribute financially for your organization? They get in touch with me. And very easy, people know where I am. And once they get in touch with me to contribute without causing problem, to contribute in big amounts. And many people call me for lunch and for dinner and for meal, and for every meal they give big amounts, alhamdulillah. So those who really want to contribute, they come and meet me.
Zakir Naik really wants you to have a meal with him because apparently every meal he gets big contributions from people for some reason. Ultra says, and of course, G Block, Abs, and Mrs. Exmuslim. I don't know what that means, but apparently it's of course. It might have been like the second comment in a string, but I didn't catch the first one. So, but thank you very much for that donation. I do have some others, but we'll just take those as we go along. So I'm going to bring up the recent video 2 days ago, I believe, from Behind Veils, which is called the Premature Declaration of Game Over. Before I do that, however, I want to re-bring up that comment that we started with from Aisha on her channel, because this directly relates to what's in the video and her releasing all those little clips that we looked at. I've intentionally refrained from sharing any details of my case involving that individual Mohammed Hijab online, as I'm currently pursuing a resolution to my divorce with him through the Islamic Council of Europe. And then she says that she won't be saying anything else publicly until that situation, because she wants to do things properly Islamically, right? She wants to go through the council, and that's going to be highly relevant to what we see in the video there. And I forgot to mention, she did have 2 other short little videos, no audio or anything on her channel. One showing that she has indeed made many donations to Muslim Dawah organizations and whatnot, scrolling through her email, showing past donations that she's made, getting the thank you emails for those. And one of her logging into a website where there's courses and showing that she's been taking courses through this website for several years, which she also said that like she's been studying, right, the religion and whatnot. She's not some non-believer just making up stories to make hijab look bad. I guess is why she's sharing this. But nothing really super interesting in those, so I won't bring them up. But they're on her channel, which is Faith May 2015, I believe, is the name of the channel. I can put a link to it if people would like to check that out. And Wad, our favorite Muslim, is in the chat and says, "How are you doing, Thaddeus?" And I'll answer this the same way I always answer it. I'm blessed by my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and I'm not following demons like you. So repent, follow the truth instead of following those demons. All right. So this is their video. I'll probably play good chunks of it because, like I said, there's not a lot of new information, but there are some important things to highlight.
In the previous video, Sister Aisha took an oath with the risk of destroying both her life in this world and the eternal life of the hereafter. Yet hijab remains silent while using AI-generated responses to continuously stage distractions. He will claim he doesn't have time for such petty accusations because he has more important things to do in life. But that's not exactly true, is it? Because after stating my final word back on April 11th, he keeps tweeting about it and sharing videos. The truth is, he deceived this woman into a hotel marriage.
It is funny, right? Like he's so arrogant, he can't even help himself.
This is my final word.
Yeah, he knows that what he should do, like his best course of action, if he's not going to admit it and apologize, his best course of action is just to ignore it and say nothing. Right? That'd be a much better strategy than constantly shooting yourself in the foot with stupid comments and whatnot. But it's hijab, right? He's too arrogant for that. So my final word on this matter, which he hurriedly put out like 48 hours after the first video, because he's like, they haven't released any evidence. They're not going to release any evidence. Game over. This is it. I'm not speaking of it ever again. I got too many important things to do. But I guess he betrayed himself, right? He betrayed himself there and showed that he does, in fact, well, have nothing more important to do than these things. Yeah.
Sometimes a lie reveals more about the liar than the one it's aimed at.
He doesn't have any important dawah work to do, right? All he has is petty complaints. I think that was his word, petty complaints.
He spends all this energy in his last video trying to attack my masculinity when it is all a projection of his own insecurities. I took a mubahala. The sister took a mubahala. And yet the only coward, the only one scared and trembling from the thought of doing a mubahala is Mohammed Hijab. Once again, do not be fooled into thinking that hijab would never do a mubahala.
He's going to play that clip there in a second, but I mean, he's 6'6", people. He can't do one. Nope. That's all there is to it. There's a height limit. He's too tall. That's what Ali Dawa said. I mean, he's also wrong. Ali Dawa was also challenged to do a mubahala and refuse. Well, he hasn't actually refused. He's just ignoring it. Whereas hijab is actively refused, both through Ali Dawa and Ali Dawa's excuse that he's this big 6'6" guy, and she's this tiny little woman, as if it's like a street fight or something, right? That's what Ali Dawa tried to imply. And then hijab directly in his, this is not Mohammed Hijab speaking, people. Stop pretending like it is, even though it's obviously him. Then he says that he has 1.29 million subscribers. Why would he dignify anyone with responses to the accusations? Why would he pay any attention to this 8,000 subscriber channel? Blah, 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 blah. So either he's too famous or he's too tall.
Yep.
Yep.
And continues to do it.
Again.
Sometimes a lie reveals more about the liar than the one it's aimed at.
Just keeps outing himself. He keeps exposing himself every time he opens his mouth. He has a history doing that, though, doesn't he?
Bro, I challenge you, bro, to a mubahala. I'm going to put you in your place. Wallahi, I'm going to cancel you, bro. Let's do a mubahala. Go on a Zoom. Let's do a debate and a mubahala. But you're not a man. With all due respect, you're emasculated. I'll do mubahala with you, bro. I'll do mubahala with you. Uqsumu billah al-azim. I'm ready to do mubahala with you. I'm ready. If you're ready, let's do it. Come on, Zoom, like a man.
The truth is, he won't do a mubahala.
I found that so funny. Come on, Zoom, like a man.
I mean, hey, if you could get married on Zoom, I guess you could do a mubahala on a Zoom.
Hey, Zoom's very flexible, very convenient, obviously.
Yep, good for anything. It's just funny because like normally the statement would be like, if you're a real man, meet me in person. And he's like, if you're a real man, meet me on Zoom.
Never mind that they're images. Whenever you use Zoom, you're using images. So there's that too.
Well, same with his videos. Same with like everything that the Dawa dudes online do. Definitely not halal. But they'd rather have their image be celebrated and even, might I say, worshipped than follow Islam.
Yeah, it is very interesting how they put themselves prominently in their thumbnails. For example, when we know images are supposedly forbidden in Islam, but apparently it's only Muhammad's, the prophet, not hijab image that's actually forbidden, right? They don't even care if you depict Allah, right? Someone can draw a cartoon of Allah and be making fun of Allah, and they're like, yeah. But then you draw a cartoon of Muhammad making fun of Muhammad, and they're like, you drew the prophet. This is war. We're going to destroy you.
Yep. Even in my little doodlies I have on my channel, I get Muslims all the time. Why are you disrespecting the prophet by doodling him?
Because he deserves to be disrespected. But just in case this wasn't clear, this mubahala clip of Mohammed Hijab is Mohammed Hijab leaving a voicemail on either Salman's phone or on Abu Aya, the other member of Behind Veils. One of the two, I forget which. But he's challenging them to a mubahala, and then they take it publicly, right? They put it on the channel, say their half of it. I mean, technically it's supposed to be in Arabic and they said it in English, but and they at least said the meanings of the words, as they would say. It's about a Quran translation. And where's Mohammed Hijab? Oh yeah, he's too big, or he's too famous, or something, and he doesn't have time for this, but he does have time to create AI fakes to try to set his name straight. Yeah, totally plausible.
Because he knows it would garner the curse of Allah. He knows that the people who were witness to this nikah would never be able to look at him the same way. They already see him as a liar, but if he were to do a mubahala, they would deem him as an eternally damned liar. I want to shift focus back to another point they mentioned in the video.
And that is a very good point, because like we talked about this previously, why Mohammed Hijab won't take it. And I said that maybe he actually believes it's legit, right? Maybe this is evidence that he's not a grifter and he actually believes all the nonsense he says. But then Mary pointed out, well, actually, it would totally destroy his reputation, right? Even if he doesn't believe he'd be harmed by Allah because he doesn't believe in Allah, he would still know it would destroy his reputation, because other people know this is true, right? They know the truth of the matter. And then he goes publicly and he does a mubahala saying the same lies. Well, even if Allah doesn't curse him, right? So even if he doesn't get Allah's curse, other Muslims will look at him and like, I know that he must not believe in Allah, right? He must not believe that this is true. We know that you're allowed to lie to your wife. We know that you're allowed to do this. We know you're allowed to do all this. And we know he has good excuses, but you can't lie in a mubahala. That's suppose you're saying, may Allah curse whoever is the liar, right? Someone asked this earlier. Demon Souls asked this earlier. He says, Islam allows polygamous men to lie and deceive their wives. Wouldn't hijab be allowed to lie even during a mubahala? No, that's the whole point of it. The whole point is it's a magic ritual where you invoke Allah's curses upon yourself if you're lying. And the reason it has to exist is because every Muslim knows you can't trust other Muslims because they're allowed to lie. So you have to have a way to say, nope, this is the one circumstance we can't lie, which is the mubahala, magical spell curse thing.
Well, think how devastating it would be if you were one of the Muslims who knew that Mohammed Hijab did do this, that he is lying, and then he goes ahead and does this challenge, and then, oh, he doesn't die.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happens to him. That by itself should shake faith. In fact, if for any Muslim who would be watching that, if they both did this and neither died, then that should shake their faith because Allah is not holding this sacred anymore. This isn't true. That doesn't actually matter because, again, Allah is a powerless little made-up God.
Mm-hmm. Pat's leather strap says, I lied in a mubahala once. Allah turned me into a ferret. I think you meant to say a newt. And then everyone looks at you. I got better. All right, let's continue.
All in an effort to try and dupe the public. In the video, they mentioned that they sent this recording of Aisha's confession, which has been proven to be AI generated, to the Islamic Council of Europe, especially mentioning Sheikh Haytham al-Haddad.
This recording was submitted to the Islamic Sharia Council, addressed directly.
By the way, the Islamic Sharia Council, he's being generous here. They actually aired the Sheikh in question used to work for the Islamic Sharia Council, which is a London-based organization, and he no longer does. So they either intentionally said the wrong name so that they could say they weren't technically lying. They sent it to an email address that no longer exists, no longer functional, or they just forgot where they were supposedly sending it. Either way, he's generous and just glosses over that error. But the point being that they have implied that they sent it to the Islamic, what was it? Islamic Council of Europe, something like that. European Islamic Council.
Directly to Sheikh Haytham al-Haddad.
To the Sheikh and the Council, you have made repeated demands that we take down the videos or you will not proceed with the case. We will.
Now that's the key point, right? This is how it ties into what I was showing earlier. The council, which is supposed to be investigating the truth of this matter, right, is supposed, obviously they have no legal authority, but they have Islamic authority to declare who's right and who's wrong in the situation. They've made a demand that Behind Veils remove all the videos before they'll investigate it, which is probably why Aisha no longer is keeping silent, right? Why she published videos after saying I'm keeping silent. So she tried to contact him in the past. I don't know when exactly, but sometime in the last 2 years, she tried to contact him. She either didn't hear anything or heard that or heard an explicit no. Then suddenly it becomes public and they say, hey, sister, we'll take your case. We'll take your case. Then she starts talking to him and they're like, oh, before we can take your case, you got to get Behind Veils to take down all the videos against Mohammed Hijab.
Yep,
doesn't sound too genuine to me.
Yeah, if you really are an impartial judge coming into the situation, you wouldn't be like, take down everything and then we'll do it. Well, that seems like you know what's actually going on. You know that Mohammed Hijab actually did this, and you want to make it look, whatever your ruling is, you need it to be backed 100% and look legitimate. And if you have these videos out there, then some people may question your ruling. Mm-hmm. And you need to make sure that your ruling is solid, because if not, it might cause trouble and may make some people doubt and question Islam.
And just to clarify, Pat's leather straps is indeed still a ferret. So he did not get better. That's why he wasn't turned into a newt, I guess. Super chat from Ultra. And it didn't play. I don't know why. It worked yesterday. When we had a stream yesterday, the thing worked. Let me see. Oh, there was okay, I see why it probably didn't work. There was a extended character in the stream, which I think broke it. But I can manually trigger it. It's all good. Just give me 1 second to manually trigger it. And I'll get that fixed. Obviously, I hadn't pre-called it up because I didn't know that it was going to break. All right.
One of me vs is 100 gorillas. Winner is my wife Fintham. Sit.
So that weird nonsense at the end was its interpretation of the smiley face emoji there. So I'll have to make it so it strips out emojis. But you did hear one of me versus 100 gorillas. Winner is my wife. So I'm not sure how that works exactly. Is he going to be his own wife? I think that the winning gorilla, right? I think the idea is the 100 gorillas battle, and then one of them gets to become the ape apologist's wife. Sounds plausible. Anyway, thank you very much for that donation. Let's continue on with the video. Let me re-add that to the stream.
Not succumb to demands trying to silence us. You now have proof of intentional and malicious fabrication of evidence. Are you going to investigate Hijab, or does he have something on you as well? Are you being coerced into silence and suppression of this case? Subhanallah. We are truly...
I'd say there's two possibilities. One, they just don't want to embarrass Mohammed Hijab. Or two, as is made clear throughout this whole thing, he has lots of dirt on everyone. All these Dawa boys constantly monitoring, recording every conversation if they have one another to use against. When Hijab said that I can't appear on the video with two of my hand-selected friends as witnesses because one of them might take a screenshot, and that's why I can't show my face on the Nikah video, he was probably not being paranoid. He probably was actually correct that one of them would try to use it as blackmail later on.
Think how paranoid you got to be in that sort of situation. If you think for the people you're working with, the people who are supposedly on your side, your brothers in your faith, are constantly looking to stab you in the back. That's got to be terrifying to live that way.
Pat wanted to know what that was. I don't know if it was just what was the comment itself. What was the weirdness at the end of it? Or I haven't seen this before where you call up an ape apologist. So if you make a super chat and you put ape in parentheses at the start of it, I now have a feature that my totally legitimate narrator, who is not AI according to the test I did, will read it for you. Because I ran through the tool that Hijab says proves that his AI generated clip is not AI, and it said this is not AI, 2% chance that it's AI. So my narrator is completely not AI, totally legit, but it will say whatever you tell it to say as long as you make a donation.
Living in a delusional world. The level of religious manipulation is unreal. Just a few days back, Mohammed Hijab released a video titled The Truth. It was 47 minutes of just reciting the Quran in an attempt to convince the public that he is innocent.
Did you guys see that clickbait?
Yeah. Yeah, that was really weird to be like, the truth. Okay. I'm waiting for something. Nada.
I mean, he knew everyone who saw that title thought it was going to be him responding to the accusations against him, or at least, like half or 70% or whatever. Maybe some people just click on it having no idea of any of the accusations, but most people who clicked on it thought it was going to be him responding. And then he just sings Arabic, the Quran for 47 minutes.
Yep.
I'm sure that plenty of people watch 2-3 minutes saying, okay, he's doing Quran recitation, then he'll get to the truth.
I fell into that. I'm gonna be honest. I fell into that category, being like, okay, when is it getting to the end already? Yeah, I started skipping through the video. I was like, oh, he just doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
So I did not personally see that, but I do actually find that hilarious. And I think out of all the stupid things that I've seen Mohammed Hijab do, that one is actually brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, he says someone's going to point out that he changed the title to now say Quran recitation or something, so that it's not clickbait anymore. But I mean, I actually think that's pretty good, right? I would imagine David might do something like that at some point. Like, there's some rumor floating around, and he posts the truth, and then he just reads the Bible or something, right? So I thought I didn't have a problem with it, but it was clearly clickbait.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't affirm that the Quran is truth by any means, but for the audience, like, how are you even going to disagree with that if you do believe that it is?
Let me take this comment from Option Select here. Guys, unfortunately, nothing will come of it. His career won't be affected. Move on. I think his career has already been affected. Now, I mean, if you mean that his career is over and destroyed, well, I agree that won't be the case. But I think that he has lost a chunk of his audience, whether that's 1% or 5%, I don't know. But that's still 1% or 5% of his income that he has lost as a result of this. He sees the exact subscriber number. He sees people are unsubscribing from his channel, even if the rounded number hasn't changed. Publicly, we can see his channel isn't growing. Usually it's growing. So like maybe he's getting as many new subscribers as he's losing or something on average, but it's definitely affected him. And you know this because he's responding. He keeps responding over and over again. If it wasn't bothering him, if it was having no effect, he wouldn't be doing that. And it does have the potential of substantially hurting him. Right now, it won't. But if there's enough momentum behind this, that another important da'i throws him under the bus, I think you'll probably then see a whole bunch of people follow suit. And he will actually be an outcast. So
yeah.
I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
No, I'd definitely say if any large voice throws him under the bus at this point, it'll be a cascade. Everyone will start turning on him real quick. It will be like night and day. And then you get all the Dawa will be saying, well, I never actually believed him. And Kikachu would say, well, we didn't actually, I never actually said he didn't do it.
Yeah. I said hypothetically, right? He denies it. I don't know. Hypothetically, blah, 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 blah. And again, there's a reason they don't trust one another. And regardless of anything else, whether they're true believers or not, they all want to be the top dog, right? They all want to be the most famous. They all want to be the scholar, in quotes, that everyone fawns after. And I think there's a very high probability when Ali Dawa did that interview, he was actually thinking of releasing it, right? I don't think he was playing games from the very beginning. I don't think he was manipulating her just to get evidence for hijab. I think he was weighing his options, right? On the one hand, I can throw Mohammed Hijab under the bus and be the hero. And not only the hero, right? The guy that stands up and is just for everyone. And think of all the women that will be coming to me afterwards because they know they could trust me, right? I'm not saying he was a good guy. I'm just saying he was considering the possibility of exposing this and making it public. I think he was definitely considering that. Obviously, that's not the decision he ended up making. But I've heard many times, and definitely heard it implied from the Dawa guys as well, is that they don't like working with one another. They don't trust one another because they're always afraid that they'll do an interview with someone and then that person will deceptively edit it and make them look bad to try to one-up them. So I'd say it's a possibility. I'm not saying it will happen. It's not a prediction. I'm just saying it's a possibility. And regardless of whether it's a possibility or not, Aisha is still wronged. Right? She still needs justice. And if the Dawa scene and the Islamic councils behind the public eye all side against her, then maybe she gets justice by leaving Islam. And that would be a good result as well.
And that he resorts to the Quran as a means of defending himself. But all of a sudden, as more and more lies are being uncovered, Hijab quickly changed the title of that video. No longer the truth, but instead it is now Juz Amma recitation.
The Quran is no longer the truth, people.
Subhanallah. I've mentioned this multiple times. They are witnesses against themselves. Just earlier, I brought to attention the fact that the YouTube channel used by Mohammed Hijab to put out his AI video was created in November of 2023, which was just months after the divorce between him and Sister Aisha. What's even more revealing was that he clearly alluded to his own divorce in a recording in that same month, in November of 2023.
Before we hear that clip, I do want to point out that although that timing is super suspicious, and if the channel was called False Accusations from day one, that would be pretty definitive, but also you can rename a channel at any time. So it could have just been some random channel that was created for any reason whatsoever and then renamed. So I wouldn't say that's definitive. I want to be fair. All right, let's see what Hijab said. And this is approximately November 2023, like 1 month after the divorce took place.
So, for example, if I get married to a woman, and I say these are my conditions.
Yeah.
Now she doesn't like those conditions. So what I'll do is I'll say, fine, you have an ultimatum. You either continue in this situation or I'll divorce you. She says, I'm going to continue in this situation. I cannot continue. I say, you're divorced. So in a sense, I've got the trump card. Like in a way, I don't need to compromise with anyone.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like in a sense that if I don't want something, no one's going to force. Even this Sahabiya, this woman, she didn't compromise. She didn't like the guy. She went to the Prophet ﷺ. That's it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? There's some things I'm never going to in some cases, the man is more severe, obviously. I've got divorce in my
It's more instant.
Yeah.
A woman is more.
But what I'm saying is that compromise what? I refuse to compromise, actually.
Subhanallah.
So it wasn't very concealed to begin with, right? But he's just like, hypothetically, if a woman, I marry a woman, then I don't like her, I can just get rid of her. I have complete authority. And then you get the women that they get on these shows. They're like, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's how it is in Islam. We agree. And then he accidentally slips. I got divorced. First person there. Whoops. Anything either you want to add to that?
Nope. I think he says the quiet part out loud quite well. And
he caught himself. He didn't finish the sentence, but
yeah, but
I've got divorced.
So apparent. It's like, guys, whenever he's on there, he can't stop talking about himself. If he's not the center of the room, he's going to start slipping on things and adding things. Like he does in a lot of those that are like, ooh, we might have a little bit of an issue here.
I wonder if that clip will suddenly be deleted from that video, like how Mr. Beast suddenly was deleting little tiny sections of tons and tons of old videos. Anyway, Alexander says, I've got the trump card. They think of marriage in terms of fighting, not of two becoming one. And that even more telling than, Mohammed Hijab confessing that he just divorced a woman, is how they view marriage in general, right? And it's like, I got all the power. I got all the authority. This is just a contract for sex. If I don't like the sex, I can get rid of you.
Yeah,
and it's a totally foreign to the Christian mindset. Yeah, I was going to ask, you guys are a married couple. Eric, do you go around telling your wife, hey, I could divorce you at any time. I got all the power here.
No. That is so ill. The woman would have to live in a constant state of fear because at any given time, he can just decide flippantly, I'm done with you. I want someone else. I want someone new. Divorce, done. I get to walk away now, scot-free. And that the Islamic groups are all going to have his back on it. Maybe not. The legal ramifications of that might be more severe. Definitely with his first wife, which definitely sounds like there might be some issues coming down the road for him. But with his second secret wife, since it's not an actual legal one, because it's illegal to have a secret second wife in these places anyway, that's an issue. So he gets to walk away. He's got all the power. And you got, again, like you're saying, you got the women there agreeing with him. Yep, men have all the power in the marriage. They can decide at any time that this is over and done with. It really is. Islam really is a religion that just gives men the power, and women are treated as nothing more than cattle and animals in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine saying something like that to my wife. Hey, Crystal, you better cook me dinner because I can divorce you at any time.
Well, and that was literally an example that Hikikuchu used, as I brought up earlier. Hikikuchu literally gave the example of, they didn't cook dinner. They didn't take out the trash. They didn't do dishes, that kind of thing. It's like, what? How is that
Just
a normal
divorce them.
marriage in your mind? How is that normal? This is what you're setting forth as normal?
See,
Divorces over these things?
we view marriage as sacred. They view it as something that's, well, if it's convenient and you get what you want out of it, then go ahead and do it. If not, well, just don't do it, or get rid of it if it becomes inconvenient in any way, shape, or form. But guess what? I'll tell you something. Marriage gets inconvenient in times. Marriage is not the easiest thing to go through. So I guarantee that anyone who has ever been married knows that it's not easy. And if you can treat it so lightly that at any drop of a hat, they don't, like Elle pointed out, they don't make them food, they don't take out the trash at just the right time, you throw out the marriage. There's nothing sacred about that. There's nothing confirming about that. It's gone. And again, that would be, for the woman, that would be a terrifying state to be. Definitely if you know that, well, he's already got 2 other wives. So if I don't perform correctly, he's just going to toss me to the curb and have his younger 2 wives take my position.
I know. It's crazy. But none of the Muslim women are pushing back at all. In fact, they're the ones providing the affirmative. And it's not a, yeah, you're right. It's like a strong, exactly. You're nailing it. You're preaching, brother. It's horrible. It's just horrible that this is the normal way that a woman in Islam thinks about marriage and thinks about their status as a woman. Maybe they get lucky and their husband really loves them and treats them very well. That definitely happens in Islam. I'm not saying it never happens, but the religion doesn't provide for that. It unlike Christianity, right? And that's the point here. Unlike Christianity, where marriage is something sacred, it's not a 60-second contract that you sign to legalize sex. It is something that's prescribed from creation, right? From the creation narrative, God ordains marriage because there's something deficient about a man, specifically, not a woman. A man is deficient. He needs a woman to complete him, right? The 2 become one. They live in a sacred bond with one another. And the man's duty isn't to order his wife around and get what he wants from her. It's to protect his wife, to look after his wife, to give his own life up for the sake of his wife, right? A man's duty is that to look at a marriage and say, us 2 have become one entity. If there is a danger, I am ready to die to ensure that this marriage lives on, right? To ensure that you live on and preserve the marriage through your continued life. The comparison is just beyond word. I mean, I can't even think of words to describe how cheap this makes marriage in Islam, right? How vastly different. Even a secular idea of marriage is like 100 times better than Islam, and Christian idea of marriage is like 100 times better than a secular idea of marriage. It's just like not even in the same remote ballpark. To use the word marriage to describe what Islam teaches is outrageous.
Mentions I've got divorced and then abruptly stops. And he brings up the example of a sahabiya, the same sahabiya, Barira, radiallahu anha, that he referenced in his text to Sister Aisha, which we released a few weeks back. Wallahi, I don't know how you can possibly make this stuff up. Now I want to circle back to the individual desperately struggling to hold the fort.
And by the way, that's a fairly obscure story. It's not like, I mean, probably a good number of Muslims know it, but it's not like a story that's on the top of their mind. It's a fairly obscure story. For him to reference it in the text to Aisha and also on that show, he's definitely thinking of the same thing in both cases, especially since we know the timing. He had like literally just got divorced.
Mohammed Hijab, Adi Dawa. I would call him a blind loyalist of hijabs, but that would be disingenuous because Adi knows more than he's willing to disclose.
I'd call him a blind loyalist, but he's not blind. He knows.
Deception has already started to unravel by using fabricated photoshopped evidences and now doubling down on an AI-generated confession. But let's see what he had to say right before conducting the interview with Sister Aisha this past August.
A sister came to me 3-4 months ago where she was married to somebody and he married her, and then after that he just chucked her away like this. She spoke to me. I spoke to him in person. You know what I said to her? I said, go expose him. She didn't tell me who it was. I said, I don't care who it is. I don't even want to know. I don't want to know. Go expose him. Go expose him. Why? Did I say, no, sister, don't tell anybody. Shh. No. Did he do that to you? Yes, I've heard your side. I don't know who he is. I can't even ask for his side. If he did that to you truly, and he's made you feel like this, go public. Not only that, I even said to her, let's do a video, I will interview you. Go public.
I'm sorry.
That's a very good clip. Who found that clip? All right, fine. It was me.
Very powerful. Very powerful.
I mean, it's possible they independently found it, but probably not. They probably got it because everyone's talking about it now. But who started people talking about it? That'd be me.
Misheard. Ani, could you please repeat that?
And he's made you feel like this. Go public.
Subhanallah.
And I'll just say, Mary's not here, so she can't testify this to the truth of this statement. But I think you guys can trust me. That when I discovered this clip, I was like, "Wow, this is astonishing!" Right? That Ali Dawa was saying this, and he was like, I could not think of a more emphatic way of saying go public, expose the guy than what Ali Dawa is doing. And then he found out it was hijab. And then everything changed. Maybe not immediately. I don't think it changed immediately, actually. But I think he's actually being genuine. That's a really astonishing thing to say about Ali Dawa, right? Because, I mean, he's a liar. He's a crook. But I think he's being genuine there. I think he actually is upset. He's not just acting. I think he's actually upset hearing what had happened to this woman and is pleading with her to go public. He has to convince her to go public. She doesn't want to go public. He convinces her. She goes public. Ali Dawa throws her under the bus once he finds out it's Mohammed Hijab.
Well, yeah, I mean, that right there shows so much of Ali Dawa's personality. It's like, yeah, go do this. Yeah, it's obvious you should. The question is that I would have is, would she have gone public if it wasn't for Ali Dawa?
Mm-hmm.
That's a valid question.
Yeah, I'm not sure she would have. Now we know why Ali Dawa had to apologize repeatedly to Mohammed Hijab. Why he apologizes like 6-7 times in his 40-minute rambling nonsense that's supposed to defend hijab. Probably because he got in some hot water with hijab when he found out that this interview had taken place and what he'd been saying before he knew who it was. I think, yeah, he's like desperately trying to repair that relationship, probably because hijab has all kinds of dirt on him too. Let's be honest here.
Oh, yeah.
He's not innocent. He's not a good guy. And option select, were you here? I'm pretty sure I read comments from you while Mr. and Mrs. Ex-Muslim were still here. They're here for the first 2 hours. They only had 2 hours to spend. And so we decided to finish up the video without them.
So no investigation, no proofs, no evidences. But according to you, Adi, if she felt that way, you made an emphatic call for her to go public. And on top of that, you actually partially stuck to your word. You did interview her, except once you ran it by Mohammed Hijab, it was completely off limits and off the table. Initiate destruction sequence. But the irony of it all is that you recorded this video right around the time you were speaking to Sister Aisha. But all of a sudden, you completely flipped your stance when trying to defend hijab.
I mean, I could take that and go public. Can you imagine me doing exactly what Salman done and said, yeah, your word is your testimony. I mean, your testimony is your evidence. Khalas.
You see, Ani, The difference between your bold claim of telling the sister,
and he's made you feel like this, go public.
The difference between us is that we actually spent 8 months investigating this. And unlike your initial stance, which you simply suggested to the sisters to go public because of the way they feel, we actually did our homework. We actually verified things.
So it's even worse, right? That's what he's saying. It's even worse because not only did Ali Dawa flip and now say don't go public, but he was saying go public just based on what he'd heard. That's it. He hadn't investigated anything. He didn't even know who the accused was being accused. And he's like, go public, go public, go public, expose us, expose us, expose us. And then he's like, we spent 8 months investigating this, verifying it, making sure she was telling the truth before we went public. And now you're pretending like we have no evidence. Pretty astonishing. The stance, the changing stance of Ali Dawa.
I'm not sure what hijab has on you, but just know that treading this path is a very dangerous one. Adi?
By the way, I don't know what hijab has on you. They know, right? I mean, he doesn't know specifically, but he knows blackmail's involved, right? He knows what's going on here.
You've completely lost it. You are a train wreck. I mean, look at the baseless slander you relayed about me.
Her claiming, and again, I seek refuge in Allah from accusing anybody of this, that you committed zina, and there's a video.
So you relay the slanderous accusation of zina against me. Well, just this past year, there is a so-called da'i that was preaching about the punishment of doing so.
This is dhulm, that he committed zina. This is a slander that requires 180 lashes, 80 lashes. In public in Islam, slandering a married man because you are obsessive over him.
Please let me know when you're willing to stand by your word and get lashed in public for relaying such egregious and heinous slander. And for the record, I actually took a mubahala.
So Ali Dawa says, if you go public with an accusation of zina specifically, you deserve 80 lashes. And then he's like, oh, I'm not going public with this accusation, which he totally is going public with. But he said, I'm not going public with it ahead of time. So I guess he's safe or something. But hey, I'm all for signing up for 80 lashes for Ali Dawa. And you know what? We'll be watching when he gets those 80 lashes.
I want to hold your breath.
All false accusations.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be accountable for his own words. I also don't think that's true. And I don't think you actually get 80 lashes just for saying that you thought zina occurred.
And never did I engage in such. So Adi, the ball is in your court. We'd love to see you and your partner in crime, Mohammed Hijab, take on the challenge of a mubahala. And if you both are too cowardly to do so, then I sure do hope that you seek repentance from Allah and issue a public apology. Lastly, I would be remiss if I wasn't to share your own insight on the Dawah boys.
Yes, us Dawah guys.
In the words of David Wood, listen to Ali Dawa. When I shared this, he's like, I thought I would never say this again. I said it once before when he was talking about scientific miracles being debunked, but listen to Ali Dawa. He is right on this issue.
We're really evil, manipulative, narcissistic, gaslighting. We're just innately evil. We prey on those that are vulnerable, especially our Muslim sisters.
Mohammed Hijab, in your AI-generated...
That is so bad.
Arrogantly...
That is so incredibly bad. I mean, he's admitting that everyone, all the Dawa guys, including himself, act this way. That is horrendous.
So I want to be clear. Ali Dawa is not being sarcastic, but what he is describing, he's describing the reputation the Dawa community has. So he's not affirming it. He's not saying this is true, but he's saying this is what everyone thinks about us. Or more specifically, this is what Muslim sisters think about us. That they think that the Dawa community, Well, gee, I wonder why they think that, Ali Dawa. I wonder why they think that. Probably because people like Mohammed Hijab and you defending him.
Yep.
Declared.
Game over.
But here's the reality. Your lies continue to unravel. Your cover-ups are crumbling. Your Photoshop screenshots, your AI impersonations, your evasive behavior. Your deception is being exposed. Piece by piece, lie by lie, betrayal by betrayal. Sorry to break your bubble, but your game is far from over. And on the day when all masks are torn away and every soul stands before Allah with nowhere to hide, your real game over is just the beginning.
I like the when all masks are removed, since Hijab wore a mask to the hotel so no one would recognize him going into a hotel and ask, "What are you doing here?" As if a Dawa guy visiting a hotel would even be weird to begin with, right? He could just be like, "I'm checking in because I'm on a Dawa trip."
Well, sadly for him, I gotta say, I think he might be disappointed on the Day of Judgment. Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, Salman has a different idea in his mind, but he is correct that when Mohammed Hijab goes to the Creator on Judgment Day, his pain is just beginning.
Yeah.
His pain
Sadly
is just
so.
beginning.
Unless he repents. If he repents, congratulations. But if you continue on this path, it will not make you happy and it will not make me happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we don't want, to be clear, we're not going to get some joy out of Mohammed Hijab burning in hell. Right?
Yeah, we're not going to eat popcorn while watching it happen. We don't take joy in the suffering of others. If anything, that saddens us.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why we have this. That's why I have this channel, right? Is because I don't want Muslims to face that consequence. And unfortunately, while even many Muslims might acknowledge that Mohammed Hijab deserves such suffering, the truth is every single one of us does. I deserve it. Eric deserves it. Elle deserves it. Well, maybe Morgan the cat is exempt. I don't know. Maybe cats don't have moral culpability. But all of us adults, right? All of us adult humans, we all deserve to go to hell. We all deserve to burn. And the only reason we don't is because of the love of God and the completed work of Jesus on the cross, where he takes our sin upon himself, says, in some sense, I chose to create you. I'm guilty for the sin you've done. I want to restore the right relationship between us. I, who has no sin, can take your sin upon myself and bear the consequences of your action. But that's also not the end of the story, because he destroys our sin in death. The cross, when Jesus dies, and yes, Jesus dies, God dies, as Muslims will proudly declare as being ridiculous. Of course, we don't mean ceases to exist, and neither do you when you say die. So why are you playing an atheist game? That die means cease to exist. But in any case, regardless of that, he proves victorious over death. He took our sin, but he's not burning in hell, right? Jesus isn't burning in hell for our sin for all eternity. No, he rose from the dead. He proved himself victorious. And with his rising, he imputes his righteousness upon us, so that when God looks upon us, he doesn't see our sin. He sees our righteousness. But you know what? We have to accept that righteousness. And if we don't repent, if we say, no, I deserve heaven. I've done so much good for the Dawa community, or even for that matter, I've done so much good for the church. I deserve heaven. No, you don't. And as long as you think you deserve it, you won't get it, because the reality is we've all sinned. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. We all deserve hell, right? We get that's comment all the time. What about the random person who never heard of God's word, right? Never was testified to. Well, they're only getting what they deserve under any account. And there's other information to say about that. But on any account, even the ridiculous, nonsensical account that they're saying where, this is not his fault at all. All he's getting is the punishment he deserves. And all he's getting is the punishment he deserves. I don't say, I've got 1 million video views, therefore I deserve to go to heaven. No, That's ridiculous. I don't get any credit for anything I do, right? The best I can do is meet the bare minimum occasionally of what God requires. I don't get extra credit for meeting the bare minimum of what he requires of me. And the rest of the time I fall short. The rest of the time I deserve to be put into hell. And thus we have this mission, right? We have this mission to spread the free gift of God to others that was first given to us, not because we get some magic credit for it, but because we want to, because we understand the love that God has for us, and we want you to have that love too. We even want Mohammed Hijab to have that love. We want Aisha to have that love. We want Salman to have that love, and we even want Mohammed Hijab to have that love. And that's what we do, So I encourage any Muslims in the chat to take this challenge, right? Don't do a mubahala or some other stupid cursing game. Don't pray to Jesus, oh, show me who the Mahdi is or whatever. Just take this simple challenge. Read the Gospel of John. Pick it up, read through it with an open mind, and see if it sounds like the truth to you. Simple challenge. You have nothing to lose. All right. Well, I have some super chats and stuff to go through, but anything you want to say about Salman, the video we watched, Mohammed Hijab, anything like that first?
Again, I gotta say, I do respect him actually calling him out. That I have respect for. I think he's very wrong. I think that in the end, he's going to be disappointed because he's not going to. What he thinks the afterlife is not what's there. What he thinks Islam isn't really built on the sources, because again, Mohammed Hijab did nothing wrong according to the sources. But I think he's a much better man than the sources try to make him out to be. And I would love it if he came to know Christ and to know his actual value, his real value in his eyes.
Amen. Amen to that. And notice that this is actually against our own self-interest, right? Because Salman actually is much more valuable to the evangelism as a Muslim, because as a Muslim, he has credibility in that community, at least among some people, and can say things and reach audiences that we can never reach. And yet we still want him to come to the truth of Christ, even though it will, destroy the credibility of his previous videos in the eyes of Muslims, and thus undo the damage he's done. We still want that because we want what's best for him. Welcome, FLP34. You did indeed catch a live stream. We are still live. Let me take this super chat from Ultra again.
If you want your wealth to increase in this dunya, then give sadaqah more and more. Every single day, 2 angels come down. One of them is making dua for those who give. He says, Ya Allah, give those who give.
Good news. The angels saw that you gave some sadaqah today, and they will be rewarding your gift. Thank you very much. Ultra, he says, Ali, sick face dawa is arguably more sickening puke face than Mojab. That's not a debate I want to take either side of. And that is a losing debate. Who is the worst Muslim, or who is the worst human being, actually? Because those are two completely different things. Right? Being a bad Muslim and being a bad human being, there might be some overlap, but they're completely different criteria. Who's the worst human being? That is not a debate I want to get myself into. So you can keep your opinion. I don't care. They're both horrible. That's all I know. Steve C says, although Muhammad Muta is a scumbag, she knew, so Aisha knew she was cheating on his wife. Except in Islam, it's not cheating. Said this earlier, right? Does she bear some moral culpability for her actions? Does Aisha bear some moral culpability for her actions? Absolutely. Like I said, we all sin. We also fall short of the glory of God. Did she do some things that are wrong? Yeah, absolutely. But she's a victim of a system that tells her this is right. It is right, or at least permissible, for a woman to be a secret second wife. And it's not cheating in Islam as long as you are married.
And what's sad is she's still not abandoning that ideologies. She's blaming Mohammed Hijab, but yet holding on to Islam itself, because unfortunately that is where the rot really lies.
Yeah, exactly. You know, in the video clip we watched, or not really video, but the audio clip we watched today, she says, like, you know, he's teaching these immoral marriages to our youth and whatnot, referring to the, you know, the cheap nikah at McDonald's, the temporary marriage that's sex only and whatnot. But she's not referring to a different kind of scummy fake marriage he is teaching, and that is polygamy. And she still thinks it's right. And not only polygamy, but secret polygamy as well. And it's unfortunate. Super chat from Jack Ray. And I don't know why I didn't play. Figure it out later. But now that I'm prepared, I can edit much quicker. It might be because the first one messed up and now it won't play any of them. I don't know.
What doubts, man?
What doubts, man? Exactly. Oh wait, no, you got a laughy face too. You both messed it up with your emojis. I'll fix it to remove the emojis so that we'll actually read the quotes. Comment from the weird stuff: a narcissist to admit their mistakes. Ha ha ha! Like asking from fire to stop burning. And I used the apple to put that on my list, and that is correct, right? Because this would have been so easy for Mohammed Hijab. The whole thing was so easy for him to avoid. All Aisha wanted was an admission that she was mistreated and that she was wronged. If he just said that in private, if he just said that I deceived you, I misguided, I'm sorry, it was stupid of me, I made a mistake, that probably would have been the end of it. She probably would have just moved on with her life. But instead, he's like, well, if you try to expose me, I will say you were bad in bed and embarrass you in front of the entire world. Because he can't admit he ever did anything wrong, which is why he's a Muslim. Honestly, I mean, because it's a religion that allows him to have so much pride and allows him to avoid the true teachings of God that he is a sinner in need of salvation.
Absolutely.
Also from Demon Soul, highlighted comment: Hijab married in a hotel. He might do a caravan marriage the next time he gets married to someone. It's actually not clear to me where the actual nikah took place. He wanted to do it over Zoom. She seems to say that she refused that. So they might have met in person somewhere. But either way, it was just a, you know, quickie marriage, a 60-second marriage, as Mohammed Hijab says. Hey, can you hurry it up? I got to use the bathroom. And that's his words, not mine. I mean, it shows you what he thinks of marriage, right? Yeah, you need my services as a authorized marriage personnel. Well, yeah, but I got to use the bathroom, which is really important. So just make it quick. I can get it done in 60 seconds. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. He might have got married at a hotel. He might have got married at a mosque. He might have got married over Zoom. It's not clear to me where he actually got so-called married. I suspect he might have already done caravan marriages, though. And this is speculation. I have no evidence for this. But I would not be the least bit surprised if, say, when he travels to Dubai, he has a wife that he is married there, right?
That would not shock me.
And when he travels to, say, Egypt, he has well, maybe not Egypt because that's where he's from. When he travels to Turkey, he has a wife there. And you know, when he travels to India, he has a wife there. And wouldn't surprise me in the least if he has many fake wives. Finally, a super chat from Denkworth.
I don't care if it's haram, my Kurdi body.
Urdi plays a mean huddy.
How's that for an ayah like it? He added. Sometimes because it's AI, it doesn't finish the sentence. Sometimes AI has that phenomenon that's called hallucination, where it either repeats things for no apparent reason or it leaves things out for no apparent reason. In any case, that's why I didn't read the last part of it. But my Kurdi buddy Erdi, it's ERDI, just so you know. Ali Dawah's first name, plays a mean hurdy. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good ayah. That belongs in the Quran, I think. I can't distinguish it. I mean, this is good at poetry. Although Mary has made a pretty persuasive argument that when Muhammad claims that his poetry, the Quran, is unlike anything people have ever seen before, it's because his poetry is technically inferior, that it isn't like the poetry of other poets of the day, that is, complex and hard to understand, that it's like very plain and boring. That's kind of the argument that he might have actually been trying to advance. So who knows? But he couldn't meet his own standards because, as Mary's pointed, she calls it when he gets angry. Obviously, that's speculation. But when he's like correcting the record by inserting verses in between other verses he already inserted, suddenly it goes from like a rhythmic short verse meter pattern to a very long statement that has no meter or rhyme or anything, then continuing what was there before. So like he can't even keep his own story straight. Okay. Thank you, Mary, for clarifying that a caravan is a travel trailer, or what we'd call an RV in the United States. I thought it meant like Muhammad, right? Like Muhammad,
yeah, that's what I thought. Like
caravan of camels, riders, and whatnot.
Yeah, but
I guess it was actually saying that he'll do something really low class and get married in a trailer. So there you go. I thought it was a camel caravan. All right, FLP 34 of a brand new super chat.
We're asking you to give a loan to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and believe me, that will be paid back in ways you can never imagine.
Who is it that would loan Allah a goodly loan so he may multiply it for him many times over?
Allahu Akbar. I love that verse. Every time we donate to projects, we're giving a loan to our Creator, the most generous, who will return it to us in this life.
Brothers and sisters, can you afford to miss out on this opportunity?
Can you afford to miss out on the opportunity to scream? I know that the apples is definitely the one that's most meme-ish on the channel, that most people love the most, but to me that one's probably my favorite because of the random scream from a girl in the background. Like, I think it's a kid playing. I mean, I don't think like something malicious is happening, but they didn't bother to re-record it. They just released it with a scream in the background.
Nope, just keep it as is. We can't reshoot. We don't have time.
Jizya for the cute shoe in the corner. I guess that's Morgan. Reminded me I need to go and feed mine her wet can for the day. Thank you, Thaddeus, and for all for covering these topics. And thank you very much for your support, financial and otherwise. Thank you, everyone, for all the support you give. Like, obviously not everyone can give financially, but I appreciate everyone who comes and watches the live stream. Appreciate everyone who prays for me. That's the most important thing you can do, by the way, is pray for me. I'll have a video out within the next few days updating my legal situation and whatnot, and watch that. Make more people aware of what's going on, and support me financially when you can, because at the moment I have no other income. Well, that's not quite true. I mean, I do have some other like minor sources of income, but I have no like traditional job, and I am reliant primarily on donations to have the time to do this and whatnot. Thank you all for joining us today. I have a new short on the Mahdi, which is right now in members only mode. That will be released publicly later tonight. So when you see that in your recommendations, check that out. I was on Eric's live stream, Your Brother in Christ, by the way. Go subscribe to his channel, watch his stuff if you don't already. But I was on his channel. Was that yesterday or the day before? 2 days ago, right? I think 2 days ago.
Yep.
And we watched this video by this guy claiming to be the Mahdi, the heroic figure of the Islamic end times, kind of the equivalent of the second coming of Jesus. I mean, it's may or may not be a second coming of Muhammad, but it's kind of equivalent. But also, Jesus has a second coming in Islam. I mean, the eschatology is really weird. But in any case,
what's real weird about that is in Revelation, you have the beast and you have the prophet who comes with the beast. In Islam, you have the Mahdi and you have the Jesus coming back. And then they fight against Jesus, their supposed fake Jesus. But it just seems like it's reversed, and it's the same number on the bad side and the good side, but it's just reversed. So they've got two good guys and one bad guy, and in Revelation we see one good guy and two bad guys. It's like, ooh, that seems weird.
I also would like to contest Thaddeus's use of the word hero. You said something to the effect of like the Islam's heroic figure or something like that. I would just like to say that the heroic figure in Islam, in my mind at least, one of them would be the Jewish woman.
Absolutely. Yeah, so the Mahdi, so very short version in Islamic lore, what's supposed to happen, despite every Muslim telling us that the proof is Islam's the fastest growing religion, is that everyone on earth is supposed to lose faith. Like there aren't really supposed to be any Muslims left on the earth. And then the Mahdi comes and restores Islam, brings people back to the religion, and then the end occurs. So that's supposed to be the role in Islam. And so then we got this pretender guy saying that he's the Mahdi. And he gave a chance. He told me how to put him to the test. And although I never believed him, I said, okay, I'll take your advice. I'll put you to the test. And my short looks at the results of me putting him to the test. He gave me a specific thing to do. I did exactly what he said. And I'm not wearing a beanie, so you might guess what the result of that is. But tune into the short.
Looking for mine. I was like, I think I took it back. I think I took it home. I didn't leave it over my workshop. So, yeah, that's weird. It's weird. His whole look is so weird. It's like how to look like the Dark Overlord 101. And it's like, oh, geez, just put some red lighting up and you should be good.
I need to talk to Mary. We might stream tomorrow. I definitely will be streaming sometime this week. I think David wants to have me on to update the Mohammed Hijab situation. Looks like I will be on Friendly Ex-Muslim at some point. I don't know if that'll be this week or not. So in short, I got lots of stuff coming up. What about you, Eric? What do you got coming up?
I got lots of stuff too. So tomorrow I'll be streaming on Truth Defender's channel with him, talking about logical arguments and the Bible. So we'll be going through that with critical thinking. Tuesday I'll be on with John on Newton Sci-Fi. We'll be going over some of the Crusaders. We'll be starting off with one of the Crusaders, the first one in a series that we will be doing. And then we will be I'll be hitting a reaction video on Wednesday and just going from there. And then next Sunday, I should be back on with Hatun, where we're talking about the reliability and preservation of the Quran.
Ooh, Hatun's favorite subject. Or at least the one she's best known for. I don't actually know if it's her favorite in terms of how much she likes talking about it.
Oh, she likes it. She likes it.
Elle, you got anything coming up that you want to plug?
Actually, Lord willing, yes. I say that with somewhat of hesitation because lots of things have been coming and nothing has actually ended up on my channel in a while. In regards to at least standard long form content. However, I do have a video that I've been working on pretty hard and hope to finish off here soon. and that is on takfir, what it is and how it impacts you. And it's not something that I hear talked about by Christians very often, if at all. So I think this will be very interesting. And it'll
Yeah,
be
definitely.
somewhat launching a whole series on apostasy within Islam, proving that every single person alive is actually an apostate in Islam, according to Islam. Whether you think you're still a part of Islam or whether you never joined to begin with. So it should be very interesting. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. Title suggestion: every Muslim is an apostate from Islam. Kay said something interesting that's kind of related there. If they believe that they're all of them losing faith will bring the Mahdi, why are they not apostatizing? Well, I mean, Muhammad made many, many promises about the end times that were supposed to be definitive, right? It'll happen during this boy's lifetime if he lives to a ripe old age. It'll happen within the next 100 years. It'll happen right after we take Constantinople. When the Muslim armies took Constantinople, they literally didn't do anything for days because they expected the world to end. Like, they just sat around waiting for the world to end because they legitimately thought that the world was about to end. And then they're like, oh, well, never mind. Let's just move on. Continue spreading our empire. So, and he's made like he probably has like 2-3 dozen indications that the end of the world is coming, many of which have already happened, some of which can never happen because they refer to people groups that no longer exist and didn't happen. So why would this one matter to them? Is what I'm getting at. Let me just see these humorous comments real quick. Protestant believer, give a loan to Dracula. Give a loan to Dracula. Luke says, sounds like prosperity gospels. No, that is the prosperity hadith. That is what we call it here. Prosperity hadith. Get it right. Misha says, that is the scream, the girl in the background. That's the scream of mubahala. Give a loan to Thaddeus. Give a loan to Thaddeus. Notice the spelling. Sounds similar, but different. I gotta say, I mean, you got the mubahala proof there. Okay, he said, oh, I did that one. And then Flip says, your hair is way too good for a beanie. Thank you very much for that. We'll wrap up here. Until we meet again, everyone, have an amazing evening, amazing rest of your weekend. If you're working tomorrow, have a great work week. As is tradition on the channel, we'll close out with a prayer from Pastor Jake.
Pray this ceaselessly. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me.